Welcome to the July 3rd, 2024 meeting of the Daytona Beach City Commission. We're happy to have you tonight. Madam Clerk, please have a roll call.
Commissioner Henry.
Present.
Vice Mayor Reed.
Present.
Commissioner Paris.
Here.
Commissioner Strickland.
Here.
Commissioner May. Commissioner Cantu. Here. Mayor Derek L. Henry is late, but he'll be here.
Honorable Vice Mayor and Commissioners, Commissioner May requests that she be excused from tonight's meeting due to
Illness.
illness, yes.
So
Like-
moved.
It hasn't been moved yet.
I'd like to make a motion to excuse Commissioner May from this evening's meeting.
So moved.
Second, Ken. He made the motion. It's been properly moved in second that Commissioner may be excused. Are there any questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Naysayer, same sign. That motion passes.
Okay.
We'll now move on to we'll now move on to the invocation, which will be done by Commissioner Cantu, and the Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Henry. Please rise.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this wonderful opportunity to gather. We ask and pray that you bless each and every one of us. We ask and pray that you help us, guide us, and lead us. We want to make the very best decisions that we can. And on this Independence Week, we ask and pray that we may all come back and find that everything is well and everyone is safe. This is the prayer we pray. In your Son, Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Cantu, you don't pray?
We'll now move on to item number 4, which is approval of the minutes of the June 5th, 2024 City Commission meeting.
So moved.
It's been moved by Commissioner Paris and second by Commissioner Strickland. Are there any questions or corrections to the minutes? All in favor, let me say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. It passes 5-0. We'll now move on to item number 5, the agenda approval. Are
Yes,
there any corrections? Mr. City Manager, would you give those to us, please?
Honorable Vice Mayor, Commissioners, we're adding to item 8A, City Manager's Office Coronavirus Local Fiscal Recovery Fund, $1,000 to the Medallion Healthcare Services LLC from Commissioner Paula Reed, removing item 8J, Utilities Department Hurricane Recovery Grant. This item is within the City Manager's authority to execute these amendments based off the information from the City Attorney's Office.
May I have an approval with the agenda with those said changes?
So moved.
Thank you. It's been moved and approved that we would accept the agenda with the said changes. Are there any questions? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Naysayer, same sign. Passes 5-0.
Okay. We're going to move on to item number 6, which is our presentations. Item 6A is Daytona Beach National Panhellenic Council to the Parks and Recreation Department, presented by Commissioner Paula Reed.
I'm the mayor and the president. Ooh, y'all look good. Look at all these colors. That's fine. Good evening, City Manager, City Attorney, Council, staff. Tonight, we present to you a donation from the Daytona Beach Area Panhellenic Council. If you're not familiar with the Panhellenic Council, it consists of the Divine Nine, which are the 9 Greek organizations that are primarily of African American descent. So often you find that we come and we may ask or inquire of you to give us a donation. Well, tonight we're going to give back to you. As you know, we hosted a game night at the Cherry Center in conjunction with Parks and Recs. And from those proceeds, we said that we would donate to the summer youth program that we offer every summer to try to help offset the cost, be it for the registration, be it for the travel, be it for the trips, whatever it is that the director and his staff deem necessary. So this evening, as we come together collectively, we have representation from Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, and of course, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. This is just a representation of the Divine Nine because, as you know, in the summer, people are vacationing and spending time with family. So we didn't want to fill the courtroom because we could have done that. Oh, want me to say something about you too? and Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated with the manager and with Xavier. So tonight, we just want to say thank you for trusting us with an event that would get back to the city and get back to the youth of our community. We hope to continue this relationship. And this evening, the Panhellenic Council presents $3,000, and I committed that I would match that $3,000. So we're going to give the Director of Parks and Recreation, Mr. Keith Willis, $6,000 from the Daytona Beach Panhellenic Council for our youth in our community. So let's pose for a picture, you guys. Come on, tighten up.
Perfect. 3, 2, 1. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you all. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to item number 7, citizen comments. During this time, citizens have the opportunity to address the City Commission on any item on the consent agenda. And my first speaker is Frederick Brown.
Fred Brown, 1508 Crescent Ridge. So often we pass everything in the consent agenda, I feel sometimes without it being reviewed properly. I do have to bring it to question, and perhaps maybe the city manager can answer this. On item 8F, we now have a demolition of $47,318 for a property that's listed as the land is worth $33,000. Now, when Miss Houston died and left it to the heirs, they opted not to pay the taxes. Just put it up for tax bid. According to county records, it was won on auction by a Finch Investment Group out of California for the unpaid balance of taxes, which is considerably less than all this. I just want to know why my tax dollars are being used on this property to benefit a company in California. If you could explain that to me, please, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Our next speaker is, I believe it's Kiana Barnway.
Good evening, everyone. It's Kiana. You
Yeah,
pronounced it right. My name is Kiana Barnwell. I am the owner of Medallion Healthcare Services. And I just wanted to come before you to say thank you for your contribution to the upcoming event that I am hosting. My company is sponsoring our 3rd annual Community Mental Health and Wellness Fair. The event is in observance of Minority Mental Health Awareness Month. It is very near and dear to me. This year makes 15 years that my company has been in business, and we provide case management services to children and adolescents and adults affected with mental health conditions and at-risk behavior. So basically, with this event that will be held on July 20th, it is to bring about awareness to underserved communities, individuals, and communities who might not know the resources, support, treatment, and services that are out here for them to access. The event will consist of various providers within the community, from mental health, other mental health providers, counselors, therapists, to other community support providers that have access to different resources that individuals that we serve may be in need of. So I thank you again. Commissioner Reed has been very instrumental and supportive since my day one. So she is definitely my day one, and I appreciate you for that. So thank you very much. And thank you all again for approving the donation for the event. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to add 500.
I was about to say she can still accept donations. Thank you, Commissioner Henry.
And that was my final speaker for the consent agenda.
All right. Does any member of the commission wish to remove any item from the consent agenda? They flashing a red light, my mic's not on. Does any member of the commission wish to remove any item from the consent agenda that hasn't already been removed? Hearing none?
I don't want to remove something. I just want to ask the question on one of them. I don't think it needs to be removed.
Okay, can we discuss it when we're on the consent agenda? Because we're
Yeah.
approving it now, if you don't want to remove, okay. Hearing none, do I hear a motion to dispense with the reading of all the resolutions on the consent agenda and to, oh, well, you want to talk about something, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Okay. All right, so let's talk about it now.
Okay. On
Item,
item 8C, it says police impact fees, estimate revenue is $425,372. We're transferring them over to capital and other expenses. And then on the resolution, on section 4, it says in accordance with the requirements of state statute 932.7055. I read that statute, and so those impact fees that can only be spent certain ways. And one is a purpose of vehicles and different things. So I'm just trying to figure out where we're actually moving it to. That's it.
Fred, state your name and title.
Sorry, Fred Coulter, Budget Officer. I know who I am. The clause in the resolution is not actually pertaining to the police impact fee. It has to do with the police trust funds.
Fund, okay.
Which is the 125 and 126 fund,
Got it.
which is basically the two forfeiture funds. And those were very strictly limited as to what we can spend the money on. And in addition to that, the police chief himself has to actually say that we're only doing that. That's why it's in the
On
resolution.
Trust fund impact fees, correct?
Not the impact fees, the
trust-
forfeiture funds, the
Okay,
trust
gotcha.
funds. And
Okay.
it has to include the fact that he said that he's not going to send it by law. That's
Okay,
what the issue is.
But still, can you address where we're transferring the $425,372? Because all it does is say capital, other expenses. So on the line item, it says estimate revenue, operating expenditures, and then it says transfer capital and other expenses. So the only question I have is where actually.
I'm trying to, I'm sorry, I don't see,
That was page 74.
I only have, I'm sorry, I didn't print out the whole thing.
Okay, hold on.
The one I see, the police impact fee
Here.
fund.
This might help you. And then while you're at it, yes. And while you're at it, you'll have this one too, general government impact fees, the 722,420.
You're right,
Yes.
on the resolution, it does only in total for the specific items. To get the breakdown of where it is on what the specific accounts are, that's what the 12-page summary, budget
I know.
amendment goes from.
I get all that.
So
but
they just tie together.
My question is, where exactly is the money being transferred?
It's not being transferred anywhere.
Okay,
We're
but
recognizing
so-
the money, and we're instead of putting it in reserves, we're putting it in the West Side precinct project.
Okay, so.
Which is a
going to the
capital
West
project.
Side Precinct project.
Right, which is as listed,
Okay.
as
And that
mentioned in
is
the memo. And
425,000 and the 722.
yes,
Okay. That's all I have.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
we good?
We're good.
All righty. Let's do which one? Are there any more questions or concerns regarding the commission?
I do have a question about 8F in
Yes,
regards
Commissioner
to what Mr. Brown just mentioned, that another company acquired it. Sure. It's in regards to 8F, that we're doing demolition at 727 School Street. Mr. Brown just brought up that the lien was bought, the tax lien was bought by a company, so what happens in that situation? 'Cause
He's talking about the tax lien. We will, when the demolition is complete, put a special assessment lien on the property through the tax roll, and it'll be a lien on the property until paid, and it'll be payable as part of the taxes.
I just want to make sure that the city, we're going to get the money back.
We are. It doesn't say that, but we don't demo property for the benefit of another company. The demo is because we were told by the building inspector that it was unsafe,
That is
And
correct.
all of us want to make sure that our citizens are safe.
Absolutely.
So we're taking it down for that reason, but there's going to be a lien, and they will have to pay us back before they can do anything with that property.
Okay, thank
And-
you.
And just so you know, there are instances where the lien's not paid, and then we foreclose on the lien and get the property, so.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, we good? All righty. So,
And Madam Mayor Pro Tem, we are going to.
Mayor,
Vice Mayor, we are going to change item 8A to include the additional donation of $500 for Commissioner Henry.
okay.
Okay, fantastic. While we're doing that, can you put in 1,000 for the track team,
Which track team?
the Supersonics? Yes, please. They're leaving for their trip.
All right, let's get this motion out so I can pass the gavel on to the Honorable Mayor. Does any commissioner have anything else that they'd like to address in regarding the consent agenda? Hearing none, can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
It's been properly moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Are there any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign? That's 5. Don't we? So don't I tell them that we got to clean?
So, Madam Vice Mayor, the mayor also voted yes.
Oh, so 6. Oh, thank you. 7? No? 6. May's not here. Okay.
All righty.
So then I'm supposed to say that concludes that, and we'll come back, right? Oh, no, you know, I'm thinking about the other meeting.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, take your seat, please.
All right. Well, we agenda approval.
Okay, we're going to move on to item number 9. Or actually, item number 9, we don't have any public hearings or quasi-judicial hearings, so we're going to move on to item number 10, which is introduction of ordinances. Item 10A is the Growth Management Planning Department, Lakewood Senior Living Plan Development General rezoning. This is an introduction of an ordinance on first reading. An ordinance amending the zoning map of the Land Development Code to rezone 2.9 plus or minus acres of property located on Jimmy Ann Drive, south of LBGA Boulevard, and north of 5th Street from MFR 20, Multifamily Residential 20, to PDG Plan Development General, approving the Lakewood Senior Housing Plan District Agreement to allow for development of a 56-unit senior living facility and associated site improvements, subject to certain conditions, authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to execute the agreement, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date. And are there any questions or comments from the commission on this item? Okay, the public hearing is set for, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. Okay. I'm sorry. Mr. Watts, if you can come on up.
Good evening.
You wanna change it to PDG? What can you do if we don't change that there with that property? If we don't give you a PD, what can you do?
For the record, Mark Watts with the law firm of Cobb Cole, 231 North Woodland Boulevard, DeLand. We can do the same number of apartment units that are being proposed under the PD. It was the only thing, there's 3 things that are being addressed through the PD. One is a modification of the height of the one structure versus doing 2 structures, which are permitted by zoning, by the existing MFR 20. The other is the lower floors do not meet the Land Development Code's glazing requirements. In other words, the area of their windows, because these are all 1-bedroom apartments, senior affordable apartments, so they all have the same floor plan and the same windows.
Right.
So it was a modification of that standard, and then the parking standard, because these are single room.
What's the height for the 2 buildings versus the height for the 1 building?
Existing permitted height is 35 feet, and we're asking for the central portion. The sides of the building that's being proposed are at 35 feet. The central portion goes up to 44 feet. But what we've done is we've concentrated the development, the setbacks that would otherwise apply are 22 to 24 feet off of the single-family neighborhood property lines around us. We've increased that to over 75 feet at a minimum, 300 feet off of where the majority of those homes are.
And this is for seniors only?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Yes. And we'll be prepared to present that information. We did send some additional information on those setbacks and everything out to the neighborhood about 2 days ago. Okay.
Do we have any additional questions? All right.
Thank you.
Okay. If there are no additional questions, the public hearing and final action is July 17th. Okay, we're going to move on to item number 11, which is our administrative items. Item 11A is City Manager's Office, Design Build Contract and Intent to Reimburse Jackie Robinson Ballpark. This is a resolution. A resolution approving a contract with Barton Malo Builders, LLC, for the Jackie Robinson Ballpark renovations design build project pursuant to request of proposal RFP number 2428, authorizing the expenditure of funds in the amount of $2,858,600 for segment 1 of the pre-construction services under the contract, and establishing a design contingency in the amount of $500,000, authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to execute the design build contract, declaring the city's official intent to reimburse itself from the proceeds of debt incurred with respect to the contract, authorizing certain incidental actions, and providing an effective date.
So moved. Second.
Take a motion from Commissioner Cantu and a second from Commissioner Reed. Do we have any questions or comments or any speakers?
I don't have any speakers signed up for this item, Mr. Mayor.
All right, we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor, let it be denoted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those who are in opposition, same sign. This motion carries 7-0. Six. Yeah, thank you.
Moving on to item 11B, it's the City Manager's Office setting the tentative fiscal year 2024-25 millage rate. This is a resolution. A resolution authorizing the notification to the property appraiser for advertising purposes, the City of Daytona Beach fiscal year 2024-25 proposed tentative operating millage rate of 5.4300, the current rollback millage rate of 5.0712, the voted debt service millage rate of 0.1574, the first public hearing date of September 4th, 2024, on the tentative millage rate and proposed fiscal year 2024-25 budget, and providing an effective date.
So moved. Oh,
I had a concern regarding this during my my briefing. What are we doing in regards to, again, safety of our citizens, in increasing the capital and the police and fire as we continue to grow? I know we never want to talk about raising taxes, but it's something that we might need to consider. And Drew, if you would come, please, was giving some examples to me of what we could possibly do. But how can they continue to serve at an optimal level with all the citizens that continue to live here and the buildings that continue to be built? It just kind of concerns me, because when I call 911, I want somebody to come right away.
Before Drew comes forward, he'll come forward. There was discussions relative to the thought process going forward about how do we set aside millage only for public safety as we continue to grow in our community and looking at the numbers for growth based off what's taking place. So Drew will come up and talk about it. Those are things that have been discussed with the budget committee, that we know that if nothing happens this year, there will have to be discussions next year that focuses on just for public safety, police and fire and code in the future. But Drew, if you want to share some of the insight from your discussions with the other chiefs and also the budget committee.
Yes, thank you. Drew Driscoll, Deputy City Manager and Fire Chief. The Manager's Budget Committee has been in discussions as we develop this year's budget to present to you. As we continue to look at the revenue sources, we're seeing different, I don't want to say attacks, we're seeing different angles from Tallahassee of trying to look at our funding mechanisms, but most importantly is the welcome growth within the city of Daytona Beach. To help address that growth, we need our police officers, we need firefighters, we need fire trucks that are going for $920,000, even though 4 years ago when we ordered one is $550,000. So the item was discussed as an idea to help support public safety, which helps supports the community we serve, through a dedicated millage. I believe you've seen the county, they broke apart their millage rate from general operating to public safety and so on and so forth. So the idea was envisioned for that. Is something to be considered, whether this year or future years, as the commission wishes, as a way to help fund public safety and help move our city forward.
So this year, I just will say that we're not asking to raise the millage unless that's a desire of the commission. But we know that next year that will be a request for a public safety request, looking at the numbers as we grow in the community.
I'd also like to bring up the impact fees. So by reviewing our impact fees so we could get more in the fund, what status are we at with that?
Natalia and her team are working on that to bring something for the increasing of our impact fees within the next couple of months.
Is it possible to do anything sooner? Because I know we've been waiting a while.
The process for that will be for a consultant to have to work, and that's, so it won't be something that staff will do. We have to have a consultant to look at all of the things. But we hope to have, how long will you think it will take, Natalia, with you all, your team trying to work on the RFP to put it out? Yes. Because we do have some lowest in the county, as you've discussed with us.
Natalia Ekras, Chief Financial Officer here at the city. So usually impact fee study done by special companies. And I know we have a contractor we used to, that company called Raftelis, and they're out of Orlando. So we have to see our contract, where we're at with that, and we'll go from there. Usually it takes at least a month, to my knowledge, at the very least. If we give them all the data. Of course, we have to supply a lot of data, financial, historical, all kinds of, information they might need, and it takes about months at least. But on Monday, I will contact them and we'll go from there.
Do we know the last time it was updated?
I believe water and sewer impact fees was done recently. I'm not sure about that, but.
Yeah, the water and sewer impact fees were revised in 2021, and we haven't revised the non-water and sewer impact fees, building, fire, since 2006.
So it's been a while. So typically, when it's such a big gap in study, it typically will take longer because they have to go back further. So it might be additional time request.
Is everybody in agreement that that should be a priority to get done?
I think we always were, but the timeline is still what it is.
Okay.
Yes, most definitely.
And again, we're at the mercy of that company, whoever we select.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but we've talked about it, so point is, let's get them in here and get it moving. Right?
Okay. Thank you.
Another question, in general, we've talked, Commissioner Reed did mention about, fire and safety, but our police and code, I understand, I've been up here for almost 15 years, and we've had the same number of police every year.
I think, 244 or something?
Yeah, 244 or 240, yeah, I think it's 244. 256, 246? It's not 250. I think
244.
I don't think we can really wait to enhance that a little bit.
I agree with
I
you.
just don't see that as being the right thing to do. Our population has grown up.
81,000
Yeah.
plus
82.
82
Yeah,
now?
I don't see that. So as you guys are looking at the budget, I think that you should be looking to see how that can be just slightly enhanced. And while we understand, I would love to be at rollback, but rollback is, I would love to be at that, but it's, when you think about it, it's still substantially more than what it was last year. But I think that whatever it requires to be able to do that with the police, we should be looking to try to do that.
So are you, is there support for us to look at the increase in a millage for public safety?
I don't want to look at that, but I think we can find the money there to increase.
It will be, it will be extremely probably tough to keep pulling out funds, but I'll let the Budget Committee talk about what they're bringing forward.
One of the challenges facing us, so we have our preliminary numbers from the property appraiser's office, which estimate approximately a $5 million increase of tax revenue that we would see. But as a city, right now we have the increases that were already approved, salary increases, so there's $3 million. You have $1 million.
Salary for who? For everyone?
For the general employees.
Yeah.
And mostly our collective bargaining agreements that have a 2-year agreement.
Yeah.
We have $1 million in new healthcare costs that were borne by the city and not pushed onto our employees to maintain retention. And then we have estimated $1.3 million in new pension costs. So just there alone has already consumed the new revenues that we anticipated receiving, which then leads with inflation, there's a chance that we're doing less with the same amount of money as last year just due to inflationary costs. So we could perform less with that same dollar. So the budget is very tight. We have met with each department as the committee, and I'm sure department heads will testify. It's been a pretty rough year as we just try to sharpen our pencil, because this all is born from our workshop that we had where you set your priorities of the vision for Daytona Beach and where we need to go. And on a capital side, the budget right now, available budget, is very thin.
Also, if Attorney Gross, could you communicate about the homestead that will be affecting us as well if it does move forward?
Sure. One of the bills that was passed is actually a joint legislative resolution that will place onto the ballot statewide a proposal that would increase the homestead exemption by $25,000. If it passes, there's accompanying legislation that would then index the increased homestead exemption annually by increases in the CPI on a going forward basis.
And we would lose that money.
So, and I think we can all predict that that's likely to pass, and with the result being that the exemption will be higher beginning next year and then continuing onward.
Exactly.
So your point is we better get it, we can get it.
Yeah, that's right.
Drew, Assistant Chief Driscoll and I were, Assistant Manager Driscoll and I were talking about how that impacts on the amount of taxable value.
Yeah, so those numbers, obviously, we're prospectively looking at future years, and it would be something that Fred would get into along with the property appraiser. But for appearance sake, it would appear that the impact to taxable value would be in the neighborhood from 200 million to 300 million reduction of the taxable value that we use to pull in the ad valorem taxes. So as far as a numerical amount of that impact, a dollar amount, I have not performed that, and I would trust Fred much more than I would trust myself to help calculate that. But at this time, it'd only be at an estimate.
So we may need to consider like a $500,000.
And just for perspective on that, after CRA deductions, we estimate a 1 millage point to be $8.1 million. So you're about $4 million for $500,000.
That will be dedicated to public safety.
Well, I'm in agreement with the mayor and Commissioner Cantu that we need to do something.
But I don't want to raise
Yeah.
right
She doesn't
now.
want to raise the millage rate.
So I think they need to go back and kind of look, and I would like to get some figures before I even vote on something.
Yeah, I'm not
But
prepared
I
to vote
do,
tonight.
I do believe that 244 is not enough police. So I'm in agreement with the mayor and Commissioner Reed.
That we need to increase, but not millage. Well, I don't know where else we're gonna get it from, because we're already on a tight budget, as it's been stated. So it's gotta come from somewhere.
If you would like for,
So
we're not required.
Could you tell me the police budget right now?
I think the police budget is around $52 million. It's what it was.
And then the taxes that we collect?
About
is
49 million.
43,
I think it's about 49 million.
49, okay.
Yeah, we brought this up early for this discussion where we don't have to approve the millage rate tonight. We can let you all discuss this and bring it back at a later meeting
Okay.
with some more accurate numbers relative to the police numbers. That's why we brought it forward early. But it is a very tight budget, but we can bring in an additional for public safety directly, and that's why I think the committee made it very clear. We're not trying to raise millage for the entire city budget, but really to go towards the capital expenditures for public safety. And as we move in new fire station, that's why you see earlier with the impact fees going into a new precinct that will have to be on the west side. We're gonna have to build it and set it up as growth continues to happen on the west side in that area.
And also what Ben said greatly concerns me about the homestead exemption. If we lose those funds, that's about 300, you said? About 300?
I think Mr. Driscoll mentioned the total taxable value that's lost is $387 million.
That we would lose, that we're accustomed to having as a part of our budget.
I did what is, I'm sure, not necessarily the most reliable estimation based on a tax calculator I found on Google, and I think that amounts to $1.9 million. But you really want to hear that from your finance people. This was a discussion that was had really late today, so.
Okay, I would like to make a motion to table this and bring it back to the next commission. Oh, continue it, sorry.
Yeah, it's not defined.
Correct.
Okay, so. That's fine. We have a motion to continue.
Second.
Need a second. While you're doing that, you gotta find out how much it costs to get 6 new police officers. So you gotta
So,
find out
At least.
at least,
If
that's
it's 240,
sufficient.
if it's 244, how much are we wanting to raise?
If you just wanna do that.
Yeah, I mean,
I just wanna do at least 6 policemen this year.
What about fire? You just wanna do
I
something?
just wanna do police.
I
about code?
think we should need more than,
No, I think we gotta have a number, and 6, it seems reasonable to me. 6 is, I mean, we can't say 15 this year. We gotta come back next year. 6 is a lot. We're not exactly at 244. I think, what's the number? He's got 244 now? Okay. You always gonna have a vacancy.
we have 6 vacancies out of the 244?
That's great, though.
Okay, so, yeah, so we're raising it to 250 then.
That's what I would like to see, a cost on it.
We'll bring you the cost.
And talk about that, yeah.
And we'll bring the associated, not just salary, but all costs associated with the equipment, vehicles, insurance.
Yeah,
pension,
that cost.
All of that.
It don't just cost the salary.
Yeah, the most cost is for the pension, the insurance, the vehicles and the equipment because
We still
they're
have a lot of
so-
Crown Vics out
Yeah,
there, too.
so.
Oh, okay.
All right.
So we'll bring it back.
Okay.
I'm
No,
sorry.
we can vote, we got a motion. Did I get a motion? Who was the motion? Who was the second?
I was a second, but I wanted to say something else.
Go
I
ahead.
know the mayor has said 6 police officers. They indicated with these funds that it would also impact fire and code. And I'd just like to see some numbers for them as well, maybe about 3 each.
Code for 3? That's a lot for code. But that would be a lot. Code would be, we've never had 3 new people for code. I mean, I'm not opposed to 1, but 3 is, you gotta think, you say 3 code.
Okay,
only
give me
have
one. Give me one, Jesus.
13 code.
She's saying no, stick with your 3.
Yeah, you cannot have 3 new code people. Look at
Well,
how
when
many
we know the
code
number,
people
we'll
do
know
you
what
have?
it's, if you get 1, we can multiply by 3 and know what that looks like.
Okay. All right. Well, we got a motion, we have a second. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those who are opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0.
Moving on to item 11C
It is the Growth Management and Planning Department, Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, Conservation Easement. This is a resolution. A resolution approving a conservation easement from Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, Inc. to the city for property generally located east of South Clyde Morris Boulevard and north of Verna Street in order to preserve certain cultural resources within the site and providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Reed. We'll take a second from Commissioner Strickland.
And I do have Michael Schnapps-Tyler here for any questions and no other speakers.
All right, do we have any questions? All right, hearing none, we have a motion. We have a second. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0.
Okay. Moving on to item 11C, it's the Growth Management Planning Department. 11D, the Permits and Licensing Department, Property Acquisition at 230 North Beach Street, resolution. A resolution approving the purchase of a lot with an office building located at 230 North Beach Street from Sunglow Construction, Inc. at a purchase price of $4,380,450, plus up to $20,000 in associated transaction costs, subject to terms and conditions, including Sunglow's lease of the fourth floor of the office building from the city post-purchase, authorizing the city manager to execute documents and take such actions as may be necessary to complete the purchase and the lease, and providing an effective date.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Do we have speakers?
I do have a speaker, Mr. Mayor. Our first speaker is Andrew.
Bless you.
Are you going to take commission comments first?
Oh, no, speakers first, then commission comment.
Ann Ruby, 137 Park Avenue. I am entirely in favor of the purchase of this building. It's an iconic building on Beach Street, and we need to make sure that it stays in hands that will preserve it and maintain it and honor it for the historic property that it is. And anytime any seller, any buyer wants to buy a specific property that's not necessarily for sale by a distressed buyer, you're going to have to pay a premium price. And I think understanding that as we try to end blight in our city is something that's very important. So I'm entirely in favor of this deal and buying this property. Thank you. I hope you all vote yes.
Thank you.
And that was my only speaker.
All right, do we have any comments from the commission? Questions?
Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am.
And mine's going to take a while.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm just like Ann Ruby. I am in so much agreement of buying older buildings and everything, and renovating them. I do have a problem with this one. First of all, in our backup, the proposal contained no comps, no inspection reports, no engineering, no property history, no survey, no cap rate, no plan for future flooding, which we all know that's a flood area. Okay, so I do have some questions, because the building is 63 years old, okay? And my first thing is the square footage. Okay, when I was looking in the backup on the lease, I noticed that the exhibits weren't there. I did finally get them, and they were sent out and put online. But in the backup agenda, it said approximately 28,000 square feet. Okay, the Volusia County property appraisal says approximately 21 square feet. And then in the lease, it says the square footage is about 25,000 square feet. So first of all, we're buying property. We don't even know what the square foot is to this property. And so I actually called Larry Bartlett at the Volusia County property appraisal and talked to him about the property and learned a little bit about the property. It was the old Heritage building, and then the building next to it was the old Cobb and Coal building. When I talked to him, he disagrees with our builder reviewer, because that's how I found that going online, because that was done in January of this year, and he actually said it was 28,172 square feet. So Larry Bartlett said he is very comfortable with me stating that he disagrees with their square footage, and he would be willing to come out next week and measure it, and he gave me a name if I couldn't get a hold of him to come out and measure it as well. One of the questions I do have as well is the roof. Does anybody know, I mean, do we have a new roof on it and put on, and when's the last time? I mean, is there anybody, city staff, that can let me know that?
Yes, I think Glenn and Jim Morris will come out at the time.
Glenn Urquhart, permits and licensing, chief building official, city of Daytona Beach. Our plans that we also have the $3 million set aside would to be putting a new roof on. And,
Will be. Okay.
yes, and then we also have a plan, if approved, that we would move forward with flood proofing as far as around the whole perimeter of the first floor.
Okay.
So
To
then,
get back to the roof.
sure.
So has anything been done to the roof since 19?
As far as,
61?
I could get that information for you as far as if any.
Well, I'll go ahead and give that to you because I looked
Sure.
it up because he told me everything's online, which it is. Okay, the city building department, which I looked up, the roof permit was simply a coating in 2015 with the cost of $6,090. My next question is, does the building have asbestos?
As far as what they did on the third floor, and they had previously also on the fourth floor, they had asbestos report and removal of anything during that time. They also did demolition on the second floor. So the second floor is wide open, it's completely empty. That's what we would be doing a build out on. So any asbestos removal has already been done.
Okay. Well, according to, we're looking up online, there's still asbestos in there, 6 different components, and I do have that because I pulled it up from the building department for everyone. So actually, the whole building is pretty much covered, except for the third floor. They did renovations, and I think it was like $43,000 for the renovations, and that was pretty much the flooring, so of course, they can just cover that back up, and that was part of it. I think they did, with the $43,000, when they pulled that permit, they put lighting in each office and then put petitions up. That's pretty much all. And then, was there a survey ever done?
Yes, we do have a survey on that.
Okay. Why wasn't that put in the backup? I actually had to do a record request of all of the city emails, and actually the property is, with the comps, it didn't make any sense, because when I was looking at the comps, they were using Hyatt Brown's building, which is state-of-the-art building. But actually, I think it was like $1 million less than what we're paying for that. And I'm just curious why that wasn't put in there, because the survey does state, actually, you did this survey, I believe, in April of 2023, which that could have been easily told to all of us back then when you guys were looking at it. So I'm not sure why that wasn't put in the backup. And actually in the survey, it does says the building has asbestos and it does have mold. And actually something's wrong with the elevator too, and the whole entire elevator. Actually, there's a lot of stuff in the report. There was some other things on there. And actually, it needs a complete renovation. The plumbing duct, 2 of the floors don't have no AC at all, correct? Okay. And all the electrical work needs to be done too, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so do we have a figure how much this is actually gonna cost us?
I have set aside, as far as on the budget, 3.1 million off to the side.
So you've actually had someone come in and do the
No,
inspection?
once we get in there and we can start getting plans and everything drawn up, then we can get true assessments
Have
of
you
what.
had an inspection on that?
We've walked the building as far as
Okay,
all
but have you
four.
had a professional inspection on there?
Professional inspection as far as
Of the
pertaining.
building, pertaining to the building when you had the property?
Well, we would, professional as far as pertaining to electrical, mechanical, plumbing, and that would also be from our department, that we can do that. But once we get in there, we will assess everything. We will have asbestos, as far as if any has to be removed. we'll have everything assessed with a professional and structural, because if we have to do any structural components as far as moving forward, we would have that as well. And if it were to be approved, we would get that report and give it to everybody as far as what the cost
Okay,
would
well,
be.
there was an inspection done last year too, as well. If you can pass all this
You did the
down.
inspection last year.
I'd have to look at my notes,
you
but I
know
do
that
have the
somebody did
notes,
one?
and you should, but yeah, there was a lot of stuff that, I'm just curious, but now I do know why it wasn't put in the backup. And I feel like this is actually an insult to the commission and our residents. I mean, we're buying something totally blind, and this property is only worth $3 million. We'll pay him $4.4 million, plus we're giving the fourth floor to renting that floor out for $100 a month, $1,200. And it just, okay, so in the agenda backup write-up, it states that as part of the sale, the seller has the right to lease back the office space on the fourth floor with approximately 1,378 square feet at $1,200 per month at $14,400 per year. The rent is approximately $10.45 per square foot. Under the rent amount, the total rental income for the 3-year term would be $43,200. However, the lease agreement exhibit specifies saying $1,200 per year or $3,600 total rental income. The rent is to be payable at $100 a month. That's 87 cents per square foot. The whole rent per lease for the next 3 years totals $9,900. There is a lease provision that permits another 3-year term at the current market rate. In addition, the rent, the seller will pay a fixed CAM of $175 per month, or a total of $6,300 over 3 years. According to the 2023 appraisal, the city appears to be overpaying for the building by approximately $1 million. 2, the purchase is as is where is. The city has waived inspections, everything. Its existing conditions, the roof, the HVAC, electrical, plumbing, elevator are unknown. Hidden conditions may be present. The city would be losing $33,300 in market rent versus contracted rent, and the seller would be gaining it. That proposed low rent to the seller can be considered as additional compensation or added purchase price, as it is so below market value. This, I have never been so sure in my life on a vote up here. This vote from me will be totally no. Not saying that we could go back and negotiate. I don't know who negotiated this project, but this is the worst negotiating I have ever seen since I've been up here. But I'm not saying I'm against the building. Plus, I mean, this building, I would say, the City Hall is a Class B building. Hyatt Brown's Class A. I would be being very nice by saying this building is a Class C. And I think, I mean, you're a building inspector. I know you know the same thing. And you know there was a lot of stuff in here, and our manager did, because I saw the emails. I just don't understand why we were put in the dark, because this is bad. I mean, we should have been given all this information up front, and I just can't believe that this was all hidden from us. And I understand that we have to spend that money in the reserve or lose it, okay? But we don't do this, because that's taxpayers' dollars. We do not do this just because we gotta spend money. There's buildings out there, and actually, that building would be great if we can get a lower price. But I have, like I said, commissioners, you can do what you want, and they can come back to me and bring stuff back that would, I mean, show us everything, negotiate a better price, and I would be fine. But I'm telling you, this vote is a total no. And like I said, I have never been sure of myself on a vote right now, as I am now.
Okay, may I interject?
Yes, you do.
So as a professional and as a representative of the city and in your current role, can you address some of the concerns that Commissioner Cantu has stated.
Yes, and we planned, if we were to get the building, as far as addressing everything. Now, the third and the fourth floor, they're already built out. So we would only be dealing with the second floor, the first floor, as far as mechanical, electrical, plumbing. Then, of course, putting a brand new roof on it to protect everything below it. So those will all be new components. Then we would, of course, have to design as far as how we're going to set up the second floor as well as the first floor. But we'd have to start with the purchase and then be able to get in there and start measuring out everything. There will be new mechanical, new electrical, new plumbing, and that would all come from the monies that we set aside on it. Brand new roof. The building has a lot of potential, and that's what we're looking at that building as. Now, several other buildings like the Wells Fargo and other ones around, also older buildings, not in a better shape than that one, and as much work will have to be done to them as well. So we have looked at some, but you just can't move forward until we actually have somebody who's willing to sell the building. There's not a lot on the market right now. But as addressing your question, we will have all new systems in there. We will have where somebody comes in there as far as for any asbestos removal, or if there's any mold, we'll address everything that's in there, and we'll make sure that all of it's removed.
And the third floor, you just said is totally renovated? No. The third floor, the elevator doesn't work, the bathrooms are not ADA compliant. He spent, I think it was $43,000, $48,000, I have the permit. And all he did was put electrical lighting in each office and put up partitions. And I actually have the pictures too.
So,
$43,000 to build out. And it actually had asbestos.
the third floor, when they started, was empty. It was, then it was built out. It was not partition walls. They're all built out steel studs with drywall and everything as far as built out there. Yeah, not structural walls, but as far as partition walls, but not what some people might think as just throwing a partition up in between offices. It's not like that. It's actual steel stud construction, along with electrical, mechanical system, plumbing system, and that was the work that was done up there.
So you do have permits for the electrical work and?
They have the plans down there.
Because they're not online.
Well, I could go ahead and research that and get that to you.
I put them, yeah, it would be nice. I think this,
The inspectors did the inspections.
Send back to us with all the information.
Well, and at that point, we weren't buying the building at that point when he did that. That was just a regular person submitting the application as far as for the permits and building out. Then he afterwards was looking to sell the building.
Okay. We were looking at that as he was doing that work. I have the email that I can pull out and make sure it's shared with you guys, because when we were sending our auditors and Theater, when they were sending reports to JLA, they were looking at that. That's why they had the property appraisal, and it was stated in there, I believe by Mr. Morris. Oh, wait, no, actually, who was it? One of them mentioned, I'm not gonna use anyone, maybe we shouldn't put the address in there. And then Pat Bliss said, yes, they need the address, they need a date, because they are asking for this. So it was being done and it was being negotiated at that time. I pulled 2 years with the records. Anything that regarded permanent licensing, anything that regarded the marina, and what else? Anything have to do with the audit. I have 2,000 pages. I was up to 2 o'clock in the morning. I still probably have 1,000 pages to go to. That's actually how I found the property appraisal that was done in 2023.
Commissioners, we have, staff has been looking for 3 to 4 years for particular properties. As Glenn stated, the chief building official, he has looked at properties at the Wells Fargo. He's looked at properties on Beachside, other additional properties. When we look at this particular location, it fits in the corridor of the administrative components for downtown to get people back and forth. So yes, there have been communications that took place about getting a particular building. In reference to the price was actually higher from the seller over a year ago. And it was just something that staff kept negotiating with with him on, and not only this particular property, but other properties. Is everything, do we agree with everything? Not at all. However, this is his best and final offer. Talking with the chief building official and his team, what could be done in the building, all of the work that's going to be taking place. We thought that this was a great option to bring to you all for approval. But this is, as she stated, this is not the only building that Glenn has looked at with his team about setting aside space for P&L. And so that is accurate. There are other buildings that are not only in the downtown core, but throughout the area as far as even to the cornerstone, but that does not meet well with having an administrative office connected to City Hall.
And like I said, I'm fine with this building if we can go back and negotiate. This is not our money that we're approving. There's $1 million more than the property appraisal. Plus, we're giving him $1,200 a year for him to have the fourth floor. And then for 3 years, and an option for another 3 years.
At fair market rate, if
Yeah.
he doesn't want to take it, we will not accept that.
No, you have to accept
No, we
that
do
on
not.
the,
Hold on.
wait, for the first 3 years, correct?
Yeah, I just want to be
Yes.
clear. The rent during the first 3 years would be
Correct.
$1,200 a year. And if he wanted to renew, then the rent would be at
The
the
market
then-
rate,
then current
correct.
rate. One other thing I want to point out, this is a standard Board of Realtors contract for as-is. There is a right to walk from the contract during an inspection period for any reason. In this case, the city would have 7 days to do the inspections and before the end of that 7-day period, indicate whether we're going to walk for any reason. I don't know if that.
Which he has authority for 25,000, because we already have the contract with 24,000 on the. I'm just like dumbfounded, all this was not even put in it. Why wasn't it put in our backup?
Well, I'd like to know what she's talking about with the 24,000, because we say stuff, and I just want to make sure that it's correct. What, I don't know what Cantu.
Oh, we have a contract on there with, for 24,000 on the property, but if we, let's say, make it simple for everyone, if we deny the project, our money will be returned, but there is a $24,000 contract on the.
You're referring to the deposit.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so the contracted deposit is 24,000, and
Correct.
if we back out of the contract, it will be returned. Okay, well, you know what, I was listening to her regarding the old building, and now that you're telling me that it's an as-is contract. You guys, my house is 69 years old, built in 1955, good bones. These buildings that you say that you're looking at, that's when they don't make material like that anymore. So if we've got a good, solid structure that we need to thoroughly investigate and make sure that it's something that's worth investing in, then I'm for this. I would like to address some of the concerns that she's brought before us. Other than that, I'm ready to move forward.
I
once
would
have
just
that.
like to say this whole building is gonna be a total renovation. A lot of money. And I am not comfortable at this price.
Does any other commissioner have a comment?
I do. I want to
We're all
ask,
right. She's still talking too.
She's still talking, yeah.
Okay.
I want to know, we have $11 million that under state rules, we have to spend on the permits and licensing department specifically. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if we've got $11 million, we want to pay 4.3 or whatever here. We've still got to spend that money on the permits and licensing department. That was money that was paid in by fees for licenses. Therefore, we can't spend that money on anything else.
No, we've been spending that money. We just spent $500,000 over there. I don't think I have the list with me, but we just spent $500,000 for their meeting room at the marina. We've spent for furniture. We've spent a lot of money already out of permanent licensing. Yes, we do.
But it has to be spent on permits
But
and
I
licensing
think
though.
Actually, 4.4 for this property, and actually, it's not our money in the first place. It is the taxpayers' money. With the rest of the money we have to spend, it's gonna go over.
The permits and licensing money is taxpayers' money, but it has to be spent on permits and licensing stuff.
Right, but
It's
so
not
that-
like we can buy
I
police cars
I
or
understand
pave
that.
streets with it.
I understand that, Strickland. So since we have to spend that on permanent licensing, that means we just approve a bad deal. That's all it is. I mean, I'm asking you, I'm not.
Well,
trying to be-
Cantu, it's gotta be spent on permits and licensing. Why not spend it?
You could spend that money on permanent licensing, and you could spend it in a good way that the taxpayers would like. I mean, you just don't spend money that is not ours on bad deals. I mean, like I'm telling you, this is the worst deal I have ever seen in my life.
We all have an opinion up here, Cantu. Thank
I
you.
understand, and you have the right to your opinion. I'm not getting angry with you. I'm just saying this is very bad. We're going into a project that's totally blind, and I'm not saying this is a bad place. I mean, I like to see us redo buildings and stuff, but I still like to get a good deal on this project.
That's valid.
May I?
Commissioner Parrish?
I did do the comps, and Commissioner Cantu is right, it is very high. This is a office multi-story, checked on 2 properties that were sold in the area, so per square foot, it should be like $124, because most of the floors aren't even built out, and that should be like 2.6 million. I agree with her, just because we have money, I don't think we should spend it on a bad deal, so I don't know really who put this deal together. And my other question was, during our workshop, we were talking about that we weren't able to spend money on renovations, that we had to spend money to construct something. So was that ever confirmed, that we can buy something and construct it? And then also with this contract, if somebody is renting from us or going to be in the building, is that even allowed? I mean, it's just a lot of moving pieces, but I love that building. I'm going to tell you, I do love that building, but I don't think it's a good deal either.
It's allowed to have people that rent in.
Ben, you want to answer that question?
Well, I mean, that's income from the building, but it's part of the basic consideration to purchase it, so that's just the cost of buying it.
But my question is, we're spending money from permits and licensing that's supposed to only go to permits and licensing. So when we had the workshop, it was said that we weren't even allowed to spend money on renovations. So now we would be spending money on renovations.
What I said during the workshop is that the literal language of the statute, 553.87A2, which is about that portion of the excess that exceeds the average prior 4 years average operating budget, it can only be spent for rebates or reimbursements or for the construction of a building. That's the literal language. And what I also said is that there are some people who think that that can't possibly mean what it says, because the permits and licensing fees are supposed to be, in all other respects, used more generally for permits and licensing. Now, there's no, and as I said during the workshop, there's no case law interpreting this. Normally, courts will not look at issues of interpretation when the language is plain, and therefore I wasn't confident that a court would do that. But if you all decided to move ahead and we were challenged on that, our office would defend it. And if we lost that challenge, we would have to replace that money with a different source of funds. That's what my advice was.
So we never confirmed that we could use the money on renovations?
There's no way to confirm that. I'm telling you what
Well,
the
I thought we
plain
were going to
language
call
of
the
this.
AG, JLAC, call everybody to find out.
We don't
get
want to
an
call the
opinion, but we
AG.
don't want to call anyone.
The statute says what the statute says. There's no case law on this. There's a risk if you proceed that way. There's also a risk if you don't spend that money. You know, it is what it is.
We do need to spend the money, but we also, it is not our money to spend, and we need to be better stewards of the taxpayers' money. We should not be doing a deal like this. This is actually very laughable. I just can't even breathe. I mean, I think it's an insult to us, pretty much, and the residents. I mean, if staff really thinks, whoever put this, I'm not sure who negotiated this and brought it for us, if they really think we're that stupid, that we would approve something like this. I mean,
Mr. Mayor, can I speak
Yes,
for a quick minute?
Commissioner.
Okay, so I think Commissioner Cantu has brought up some valid points, and she has done her due diligence, and I applaud her for that. And I think my biggest concern is the seller having $1,200 rent. That's going to be my biggest issue, because even if he had a higher rent, we could recoup some of the money that we're putting back into the building. I don't think you get to sell your building and say, hey, I still want to live here for $100 a month. That's kind of not how it goes to me. Two things can be true at the same time. We need a building. We need a building close to this facility or close to where we operate business. That can be an extremely, extremely difficult task in today's time. I think everybody's paying more than they should be paying for anything you buy nowadays. If you go out and buy a house, I really feel like you're probably spending $75,000 to $100,000 more than what you should be spending because of the time that we're living in right now. If not, and I'm just being conservative. I look at houses and I'm like, just a year ago, 2 years ago, you could have got this house for $250,000. Now it's $450,000. That's the sign of the times that we're in right now. And in a capitalistic society, we got to have a building, and we need a building that's close by, and we need a building that, and sometimes you got to pay a little more to get exactly what you're looking for and exactly what you need. Does she raise some great concerns? Great concerns. I mean, she just went and did her homework, and I'm proud of her for that. But like I said, two things can be true at the same time, and I am absolutely against somebody getting to live where they just sold their building. Stacy, Commissioner Cantu, I would like to know what number would you feel comfortable at, since you've done all your homework, you've looked it all up. What number would you feel comfortable at us purchasing this building for?
definitely not $1 million over the property appraisal. And I'm actually in agreement with you about this person living here for $1,200 for the whole year. I mean, that's crazy. But, and I do agree with you as well. I mean, prices have went up, yes. Actually, they're starting to go back down a little. But
Not enough.
But I do agree with you. But I would never spend this much money going into something totally blind and not knowing what we're getting into, which I know because when I've done remodeling, I got the estimate, this was the price, but it always ends up more, and which I understand that. But we don't even know how much it's gonna cost. I mean, you got 6 components in there that has asbestos that wasn't brought to us, which they knew. It was even in the appraisal. It has mold. I mean, there's just so much in there that we really need to look at. I mean, it needs a new roof. It needs all electrical. I mean, because I mean, how old it is? There's no way it's up to code. 63 years old. The building is. So I think they need to go back, renegotiate this contract with them. If this person really wants to sell, I think we could get a fair price for the residents.
So would you also like, hold on, please, just a moment. I have a couple more questions. Would you also like for staff to bring back more numbers of realistically what it would look like for us to bring this building completely up to code? Because that's what it sounds like I'm hearing
You're
from you.
absolutely correct.
Too many good points.
I didn't hear you, Mr. Mayor.
No, I'm just, what was your question to her?
You were talking.
Her question was, what
I feel like I'm hearing from her is that she would like for staff to go back and bring numbers of what it would realistically cost to bring this building up to code, in addition to what the purchase price would be.
And
I think what staff has already said to us though tonight is that this gentleman is,
That's it.
yeah, it is the best he gonna give you. And he maybe he knows something, he knows the situation that we're in. Commissioner
Well, if
Henry
we're-
has said it.
well, he's probably listening, or if he's here, he's gonna know that we're not gonna approve unless we get a better price, and I'm sure he wants to sell. I mean, all of the things that's wrong inside there, I mean, come on, that, in that building. I mean, he's never gonna get even the appraisal price for that building.
This has been going back and forth.
And we're gonna buy something, we don't even know the square footage. I mean, come on, we're blind on that.
Okay.
There's 3 different square footages. We don't even know the square footage of each floor, which
Okay.
I had to actually ask for that out of the lease, and I don't know why that was taken out either. But, I mean,
All right, let me let the manager finish, and then I want to let Commissioner Henry finish with her line of questions. We understand, and I will address staff, because I have a problem with what she's saying. That should never happen, but I don't want to go there yet. I'll go there at the end.
and I just want to
But
say one
he's
other
gotta
thing.
finish, and then she's got to go.
I gotta
Go ahead.
say one more thing. And I personally, as the commissioner, which I think it was an insult, I had to sit and dig for all this information. And he works for us. He should,
Commissioner, you did not
wait a
ask
minute,
me.
wait a minute.
You
I
didn't ask me.
should not had to pull up and find out it had asbestos. I should not had to find out it already had a property appraisal. I should not had to pull up all the permits. I mean, there is so much stuff that I had to dig on my own, take my personal time to do this, stay up all night long looking at the website because I've been told everything's on the website, which I looked at the website. Then I had to do record requests. I shouldn't have to do this.
You're absolutely correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're absolutely correct. I do want to say something. You did a public records request to Letitia when you did not just ask me for the information, and I would have provided you with the emails, but you did a public records request that calls for her to have to send out to all staff to pull it. If you would just call me and say, could you give me information, I would have provided. In reference to this particular.
Wait a minute.
Well,
I would like to do a rebuttal on that. My record request was right after the workshop. And actually, I received it the evening before. Now, in this agenda, on this item, was everything I received in the backup, which I pulled off permit and licensing. It should have already been in the backup because there was nothing in the backup. Even the lease was missing things, and I read that lease, and I'm like, wait a minute, where's Exhibit A? Wait a minute, where is the attachment? I had to request that, and then I had to ask for that to be in the public records and send to the rest of the commission. I shouldn't have had to look up to find out it had asbestos. No, I shouldn't have to do that. So you're saying that when something's on the agenda, I need to automatically say, Mr. Manager, does that building have asbestos? Mr. Manager, did you get a property appraiser? Mr. Manager, I shouldn't have to do that. That should already be in the backup when we have something. Also, I think anything that comes before us from now on, we should require all this to come before us. Plus, I didn't even know it was the old Heritage Federal Building, which is 230, which I still not sure because the building next to it used to be the Cobb and Coal, which is a separate address, 226 North Beach Street. But it's owned by the same people. So when I know it's been combined, but I'm still not clear if both of those buildings are being sold as well. You saw that too. And so Mr. Bartlett wasn't sure, but he definitely disagrees with our reviewer on the square footage. He said, if there is something there, it's a little bit. And he is more than welcome to come out next week and measure it. He is very confident, and he told me I could say that up here.
Okay.
I want to add something, Mr. Mayor. If in fact that the city manager does work for us, he works for you. You have to tell him what you need and give him the opportunity first to give you what you need. So you have to say, and if going forward, those are all the things that you need to let him know for future reference. These are all the things I require. These are all the things that I need to be able to do my job. I can't effectively do my job if you don't have this, and this. I want all of those things.
I understand.
And you get to do that because he works for you. But you got to give him the opportunity. You got to be able to go to him and say, hey, I noticed that these things are not in the backup. I don't like that it's not in the backup. Going forward, I'd like them in the backup. And can you please hand me all of these things? You got to give the person the opportunity to do their job first before we go to other people to get the information.
Okay.
And-
I agree with you at a certain extent, but I disagree. He works for us. He should have, when he's bringing a project, he should have all the information there. That's how I feel. I shouldn't have to keep going back and asking him for this and this and that, when he already knows appraisal was done last year on the property.
I don't care what you say.
I'm sorry.
I don't care what anyone says as far as a project. It's always going to be something else. It's always going to be something missing. It's always going to be something else and something more, because you're adding on and adding on and adding on. So it's always going to be something that possibly may not be there, that you may think of that is not there, that you would like to have.
So I'm just asking you very politely, so you think anything, property that we're buying, we shouldn't have comps, we shouldn't have an inspection and a backup, we should have no engineering report, no property history, no survey?
No.
I'm just asking.
Commissioner Henry never said that.
Okay.
That's not what Commissioner Henry said.
That's why I
What I
shouldn't
said
have to
was,
ask.
what I said was going forward, if those things are not in there, and those are the things that you feel need to be in there, that's why we're here.
So
So
are we?
going forward, if those are things that you should, hey, come to your commission and say, hey, these are the things that I feel like we should have already had. They should not be in the packet for us to receive. And going forward, I would like to see all of those things. Even if nobody else in here agrees with you, you have that right. You
Okay.
should get those things.
Do you think, does everybody agree on that?
Going forward, if we're going to approve a price on something, we should have some justification why we should approve this price, which includes comps and an
And I don't have
inspection.
any problem with that. I think that's
We
great.
shouldn't be buying things in the blind.
I think that's great if that's what we need going forward. I have no problem with that. I'm just saying to you that we have to give the man the opportunity to do his job, even when he don't always get it right, because nobody gets it right all the time.
No.
I don't care who you are. The only person that get it right all the time is
You can
Jesus.
sit and stick up for him. I'm
It's
fine
not
with
about
that.
sticking up.
No,
It's not
no,
about sticking up
I'm
for
sorry.
anybody.
I'm sorry. I'm not going to
Commish.
argue with you, but
Oh,
I'm
oh, there's
telling
no
you,
argument.
When there is
I'm not
something
arguing.
in the agenda and I'm going to buy property, it's only natural. If you're
Okay.
buying a house,
I've said
you're gonna
what I had to
look.
say.
Okay.
I've had
You've made your point. I want you to understand that your point is well made. And I'm not in disagreement, and I don't think anyone is in disagreement with your point. But we still have a decision to make, and you have stated it, and I will say to the manager and to his staff, and this is my sentiment. If you don't want this, have what she is addressing. Because what she's saying is valid. Just period. It's just valid. And so no matter how we slice it tonight, what she's saying is valid. So if we don't want to go through this, give her what she needs and believes in, so that, because for me, I was going to have a hard time with it without the asbestos, without the lack of an, information that's in the back. My problem is with the cost and with him staying there. Not in that order. Him staying there is more than the cost. Because I agree with Commissioner Henry. We're paying more now, so I don't want to get into my rationale for whatever decision I make. I think we have some management commission issues that we just have to go forward with so we can have them addressed. You know, and so anytime if you're on the commission and you come across as defending the manager, I defend both people. Because what she said is accurate. Two things can be true. And because you have sometimes two things that have a partial truth or somewhat juxtaposed but have some truth in them, you then still have to make a decision. So I want to be able to move forward. The manager was going to say something. Did you have any further questions after the manager? Because you had more questions. I didn't know if they were all answered.
I'm good for now.
You're good for now. What were you going to say?
Yeah, I wanted to say that the property owner went back numerous times. We did not want him to stay there. We wanted to charge market rate. He said, if you all wanted this particular property, this is my offer to take to the elected body to see if they would accept it. But I have no interest in paying any more or moving out of the space for 3 years. That was part of the discussion over the past couple of months with the individual. So I'm aware, these are things that went back and forth, but his thing is he wants to stay in the building and not pay, and he says he would want us to also take that to the elected officials to determine. That is not something that we want. We want market rate. It's a great building, but he wants, this is his final offer. If you all decide as elected officials, that's why you're here, that you don't want the building, we don't go forward with it and we look for other opportunities. And I just want to be clear that it was not something that the team just thought that, hey, we should let somebody just stay in there for $120 or $100 a month. But that was his final, beyond us saying we should get fair market value.
Can we pull this off or continue it until next meeting and maybe fill in some of these gaps that we've had pointed out to us here and
I don't think he's gonna change his mind.
He's not going to change his mind, but that's okay. I think y'all need to go down another road. And I know you don't have much time, but I do believe you need to go down another road. Because I don't believe that you should allow a person to strong arm you into something that if you don't really believe in it. And I realize that we have this money that we have to spend, but there's just a lot of valid points made. It just has to be done right. I don't really mind paying over the appraised value. I don't really mind that. But there's a lot of other issues with the building, and then you strong arm us for, and you want to stay there. At some point, a city has to be principled and then say, we stand where we stand and we'll let you stay in the building and we keep the $4 million and find another way to spend it, because it's going to cost a lot more than $4 million. Right?
Yes, sir.
You're estimating it's $7 or $8 million. You don't have any other way you can spend $7 or $8 million and get permits and license and moved in, even if we have to build a building? You have no other way?
If you went into purchasing land and then building the building, you'll be over $10 million.
Okay, well, we almost have $10 million. It may probably maybe be a better deal than what he's giving us.
Yeah, and the big thing we were looking for is for location for citizens. If we go way out west, then
the citizens might have to get adjusted to something different. They don't want us to waste this money, because I can guarantee you all that when they write in the paper that we got our butt handed to us on this deal, the citizens gonna say they down there just giving away money. Now and then we just have to say to them, you didn't want us to get our butt handed to us? We sent you out near the police department. Go out there and get your permits and licensing out there. You got to, you have a choice to make. And it's land out there. My point is, you have to make some choices. Sometimes it's not easy. So I say you might take the $10 million and spend it somewhere else and tell him to keep his building. I mean, I think you got 3 and you're missing one tonight. So I think that's probably where we're going to land, unless we have some other discussion. Is there any other, and I'm not trying to end the discussion, but I'm just telling you that there's just a lot of good points that have been made. Is there anything else you all have to say?
No.
No? Okay. And I'm telling you all that if you have to move permits and licensing, because we have an issue, we can't find property in here, maybe people will come to understand that it's very difficult to redevelop the core of the city, and that's why it's easy to move stuff out west, because nobody really seems to understand that, and they yell at us because we can't fix Midtown, or we're having a hard time with downtown, or having a hard time redoing Beachside. Okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'm sorry you had to stand so long.
Oh, that's okay.
Okay.
I respect y'all's time.
All right, we respect you. So we had a motion to continue this. Is that right? No, a motion to approve. not a motion, we had an interest in continuing.
Remove his motion? You want to remove your motion?
Well, what we should do,
It was, Commissioner Reed was the motion and Commissioner Strickland was the second.
that was to approve it. You guys can remove it. You guys can remove your motion, and then, right,
I withdraw my second.
withdraw. Now, what we would say is, we know he's listening, and we know he's heard everything. Now, if he wants to get out of the property, then maybe he'll get out. If he doesn't, he can keep his property. We gotta do something different. Okay, it's that simple.
Otherwise, let me run it.
Okay.
The motion's been withdrawn.
Yeah.
So we're gonna move on to item 11E, which is the Utilities Department Construction Company Contract 2426 for the lift station 34 replacement project. This is a resolution. A resolution approving authorization number 13 under contract number 21374 Carly Engineers Inc. for lift station 34 construction engineering and inspection services in the amount not to exceed $385,468.48, providing an effective.
So moved.
Well, I forgot, I didn't get on to my point here. What are we on, 11E?
We're on
Okay, sorry. What was it? We have a motion?
I have a motion from Commissioner Parrish.
Do I have a second?
I can't find it.
Commissioner Reed. Okay. All right, we have a motion, we have a second. No speakers. All right, all those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those in opposition, same sign. Motion carries 6-0.
We're gonna move on to item number 12, which is the commission discussion on the charter review commission recommended amendments and discussion and staff direction. And Drew, if you want to
Come on down. Drew Driscoll, Deputy City Manager and Fire Chief. You received a report at your last commission meeting from your Charter Review Commission outlining some of their recommendations for you to consider. This is your opportunity to discuss those recommendations or any recommendations upon the charter which you may have. And then staff is asking for direction, so we have enough time to form the ballot questions and pass it by ordinance prior to submitting to the supervisor elections.
All right, let's take these one by one, right? Following Article 4, Section 7, add language memorializing general public comments are a part of the recorded business meeting of the City Commission as is the current practice. Does this mean that you simply want the general public comments at the end of the meeting to be a part of Ms. LaMagna's staff, and that they will put it into our minutes? You already do that, but I mean, and that codifies it in some way? What else do they want?
They're trying to do is to codify that there will be general public comment, because under state statute, if I understand correctly, we're not required by state statute to just have a general public comment. It's more of a.
Yes, that's right. And my recollection is that this was discussed in the context of everybody recollecting that years ago, there was a period of time where the commission actually adjourned the meeting, and then public comments were given after the meeting was technically adjourned. So I think the interest is in making sure that the general public comments remain part of the public meeting.
That's a correct assessment. One thing I failed to mention prior to is I gave the same direction to your Charter Review Commission to be hesitant to change the charter if you already have the authority to do something. So you have the authority, as you do now, to allow them to speak, and which you do. Is that something that needs to be brought forward to a ballot referendum? So I use that judgment when you're assessing all of them.
I agree with that assessment, and that was my thought about it, is that you're essentially, when you have elected people, that's what you elect them for. And sometimes they don't do what you exactly want them to do, but it's within your purview. I'd rather like it being a part of the notes in the minutes, and I do like that. I didn't like it when we did that a few years ago. So, but I'm not necessary to think that this needs to be on the charter. Because you gotta realize you got a ballot. And we don't wanna, when you're putting something on the ballot, it should be very substantive to me. Yeah. So, go ahead.
Mayor, may I, because it says members of the public shall be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard on the proposition before a board or commission. So that was with the Florida statute 286. So it's part of Florida statute since 2013. So do we have to adopt it in ours?
Well, this would go beyond that, because that's a statutory requirement regardless. That's the Huckel Amendment. This is actually the establishment of a separate public comment section that we already have that's over and above the opportunity to comment on specific items. We're not required to do that by statute. We do it as a matter of policy.
So the Florida statute already tells us we have to do this.
The Florida statute already tells you that you have to allow the public to speak on an item before you vote on it.
Right.
Other than a ministerial item.
And then we let them speak on the consent agenda, and we let them speak after the meeting.
And the general comments is over and above what you're required
Correct.
to do under the Florida statute.
And actually, since I've been up, I think we let them talk 3 minutes now, because it was less, correct?
Correct, it was
Yeah.
less and, yeah, correct. Okay, so is there, someone that doesn't, I'm not in favor of this one, so we need to know where everyone else, is anyone in favor of it?
I don't see if they're already allowed to, I mean, by Florida statute.
Okay. No, well, I think what you're missing is that what we do is above the statute
Okay,
already, but they're asking that what we do be permanent. What we currently do be permanent,
but it has been
and it is what they're allowed to do.
forever. I mean, I don't mind putting it on, I mean,
I just think it muddies up the ballot, and I don't think it's
but
necessary.
people are gonna be like, they already do this.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, people won't necessarily know, but I think it just muddies up the ballot. I do use Drew's standard. Is there anyone else? Okay, so I think that one is not accepted. Section 8, election term, qualifications, et cetera, of commission. Add language creating term limits of 2 terms per position. A person completing 2 terms can run again after a vacancy of 1 term. For purposes of beginning the term limit count. Term limits shall begin upon the next election in which the mayor or city commissioner is seated. 2024, mayor, zone 2, 4, and 6, 2026, 1, 3, 5. Anybody in favor of term limits?
I'm always in favor
Aye.
of term limits.
Huh?
Yes.
1, 2? You're in favor of term limits?
Yeah, but I'm trying to figure out, this starts when? So,
2024.
right, so it would start,
It would start for you with this coming election being your first of 2 terms.
and then.
Because that's the
able to
next
do it
election
again.
in which you're seated.
Okay, and then able to do it one more time as commissioner.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm opposed to term limits. Commissioner Henry? Reed? That's what I feel. So,
So that's gonna be 3-3, so what do we do?
3-3 is
Have
a
to
tie,
bring
that
back?
means it doesn't pass.
Oh, okay.
Absence of members from meetings of commission. Change the number of unexcused consecutive absences from meetings of the commission in which a member may remain in office from 4 to 2, and amending other sections in which absences are spoken.
So let me give the commission context. You don't have that section in front of you. If you have unexcused absences from currently 4 consecutive meetings, the charter says it operates to vacate the seat of that member. So If you grant an excuse, it's not unexcused. It all depends on the absence not being unexcused. This would change that number from 4 to 2. So 2 unexcused absences would therefore, consecutive would operate to vacate that member's seat instead of the current 4.
Okay, but I have a question. We always, when someone is out, like a commissioner now, we always excuse. So does that count?
An excused
No.
absence
Okay.
doesn't count.
Okay. Oh, I'm okay with it. I mean,
Unexcused and it's consecutive. So back to back.
For unexcused executive. I think we all respect the responsibility that we hold with these seats, and whenever any of us are absent, we have a legitimate excuse for being absent. Some of us have even taken the time to be remote if we couldn't physically be here. So I'm not in favor of this.
I mean, it's already on there as 4.
And is this per term?
For unexcused.
This is 4 in a row right now.
4 in a
Right
row.
now, it's 4 in a row.
4 consecutive.
And then it would go to 2 consecutive
No
instead of
one's
4.
ever done 4 consecutive.
Look, let me say this. This to me is onerous. It's onerous in the sense that we are the ones who have to excuse the person. It's too much. If I barely made it here today because I had a child who was sick in the hospital. Now, what if I couldn't make it for 3 meetings and 4 of y'all didn't like me? Seriously. If I couldn't make it for 3 meetings and I'm not excused and 4 of you don't like me, I'm gone. I think that's onerous. I don't think it's
And
reasonable.
then that causes a special election,
Yeah,
which costs
yeah.
the citizens more money because we got to put somebody in the seat.
You already got 4. I think 4 is reasonable. I don't think that 2 is reasonable. And I've never missed 2 meetings in a row. I don't know when I've missed one, but yeah. Okay, so. I only missed 1 meeting. Yeah, and not trying to be defensive, but I think it's onerous. Yeah. Okay. Filing nomination papers, acceptance of nomination, qualification fee, primary elections. Subsection C, whenever a candidate in any primary election shall receive a majority of all votes cast for a particular office, then the candidate shall be declared elected to the office, and no regular election to elect such an officer need then be held.
I definitely do not agree with this one.
This is our current policy, so the recommendation was to delete
Yeah.
Yeah.
Delete.
And
I don't know.
I do not want to delete that, because if someone gets 51% of the vote, they should be done. They were.
That is the standard that we've lived by, and
That's
that's the
why
standard.
everybody lives by.
Why do you want to take someone who gets 50% and make them run in a general election against someone who got 30%
Or 20%.
in a primary?
That's a 9.
They're not going to win.
I don't like it. Anybody in favor of it? I'm not.
I'm in favor of it.
Okay. Anybody else?
No.
Mm-mm.
I think the point of it was just that more people vote in the general election than in the primary. A lot
Okay.
of people don't even show up at the primary because they think,
Oh, I agree with
But
that.
should be
I agree that more
represented.
people do vote in the general election. That's not a doubt. But, and I'm not saying that we should defer to anyone, but in general, the people who vote in the primary, they vote. And if a person wins a general election by that percentage, they normally win the primary.
That's
Would normally
everywhere.
win the primary.
Almost everywhere.
Just the way it works.
County.
So why put ourselves through that? Not meaning us elected, but even as a community, take that off the ballot. The person, to me, earned it.
I do.
And that's been the standard in the whole community,
It is.
not just Daytona.
Right.
Article 523, qualification of electors. Delete the portion of the section which reads, on all propositions relating to the issuing of city bonds, only such qualified electors as are freeholders shall be eligible to vote. Note, the term freeholder is a statutory definition to define one who owns real property.
If I can, Mayor and members of the City Commission, the Florida Constitution expressly requires that there be a referendum on any bond when there's a commitment to levy ad valorem taxes as part of the bond. If you are committing to that levy, there has to be a referendum. That provision in the Florida Constitution also says that has to be a referendum among freeholders. So whatever you did here, that constitutional provision would apply. Note one other thing, the U.S. Supreme Court has said the freeholder requirement is invalid. So it's not being enforced by the Constitution, at least under the current case law. If that case law were reversed at some later point, the Florida Constitution would apply in that instance instead of our charter. The only time when this provision could possibly apply is if, for example, for the stadium bond that you just approved, which was not a bond requiring the levy of ad valorem taxes, if before approving that bond you said, we want to know what the voters think, let's put it out to referendum. If you voluntarily did that when you're not required to do it, and you put it out for a vote, this provision says that you could only do that with a freeholder vote. And I think based on the current Supreme Court case, that probably would be illegal anyway. So bottom line is, this provision doesn't have a whole lot of meaning currently because it's trumped by a state constitutional provision, which itself is trumped by a Supreme Court decision. There certainly wouldn't be any harm in removing it. Because I don't know of any instance in my recollection where a governing body has ever submitted a bond question for a vote when you're not required to do it under law.
I say, move it.
You say remove it? I do too. I think it's reasonable to delete it. It's not necessary. But I hope that people will understand it and vote to remove it. Anybody in favor of keeping it? I mean, it's just unnecessary. I wish we could get rid of it in another way, where it didn't have to be on the ballot, but that's not what we can do. Okay, so we'll keep that one. Article 6, Section 27, City Manager, initial appointment and annual evaluation, etc. Absence or disability. Clarify the required annual evaluation shall be completed no later than December 31 of each calendar year. In Article 7, Section 29, City Attorney, initial appointment and annual evaluation, etc., absence or disability. Could we, it's not possible to put both of them together?
Yeah.
These are currently separate provisions. They each currently provide that there will be an annual evaluation. The proposed change that would apply to these separate provisions is to add by December 31st.
Right. And
Yeah.
I agree with both of this, but
Me too.
actually the last time it was my fault because I ended up, I think, with COVID and we had to delay it.
Okay. I agree with it. I do agree that it's got to be done. I'm sorry again, that has to be on there. So does anybody, yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to confirm that sentiment. Was that to proclaim it by policy or to bring it for a referendum?
Well, we can proclaim it by policy. I think it's easier, and it's better. Let's proclaim it by policy. We don't want it on there, rather than putting it on the,
Can you just confirm that means by resolution, or is it ordinance? How does that work?
You could do it by ordinance, you could do it by resolution. That's your choice. I would recommend that you do it by resolution.
So can we have it by resolution for the next meeting? Is that all right?
Yes.
Yeah.
it's not hard to make that, yeah. Okay.
You can do a single resolution addressing both. If you look at the next suggestion, which relates to the auditor, part of that suggestion deals with the similar language regarding the city auditor. There's another recommended change. It's a bigger change. Right now, the charter provides that the city commission may appoint a city auditor. That auditor works directly for the commission. It doesn't require you to appoint an auditor. The second of the two changes proposed is that you shall appoint an auditor.
And that's the next one.
Yeah, those are both combined in the next suggestion.
And I agree to that one. I think we should have our own auditor that works for us.
If I can, before moving on to that specific recommendation, my assumption is when there's this apparent consensus that we should have a resolution saying that the evaluation will take place by December 31st, that it would include the auditor, whatever you end up doing with the other charter provision. And we could handle all three positions in one resolution.
So the city manager, city attorney, and city.
And if there's a city auditor, the
Right.
auditor.
Yeah, I think, yeah, and if there's a city auditor.
Right.
Okay,
Okay.
she says that we shall or should have one. Again, even if we decide tonight that we should have our own auditor, it doesn't have to go to the charter. All we have to do is say that we have to decide that we want to have our own, have an auditor. I was up here during the last time when we approved the possibility of this. Again, this is gonna cost a lot of money, but we need to hear from you all whether you believe that we should have our own auditor.
I believe we
Mr.
should.
Cantu said so. Okay.
Government, a CPA, that knows government, we do. It's a lot of stuff in there. And it would help us
Okay. Does
making
any-
better decisions for the residents. And if we want to put it out for a vote and see what the residents in Daytona Beach wants, I'm fine with that too.
Well, they voted during the last charter to give us the option to have it. That's how I got here. So the
Right.
residents did vote for this. They did approve this. The question is, it said we could. It's up to the commission. We don't have to go back to them. We have to decide if we want it. So I have one person who wants it.
I agree. I also want one.
Okay.
So this is to have an auditor as a full-time employee.
And it would be the third charter officer that reports directly to the city commission.
We might have to raise.
Along with,
But I am fine. I think it protects us, making the right decisions for the residents.
so the auditor would report to us, like the manager and yourself?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Do any of you want me to read what the auditor's duties are in the charter if you appoint them?
Yeah.
Sure.
You can
Yes.
read it.
Okay.
I know what they are.
Would be charged with conducting fiscal compliance, financial procedure, legal and administrative audits of all city departments, offices, agencies, and programs. So, and they would be considered to be a head of a department and would be responsible for all the matters in their department, including employing any personnel that, they need to perform their work. You would fix the auditor's compensation, and currently the requirement is that the auditor should be it must be a duly licensed certified public accountant who has been a practicing CPA for at least 5 years. Gives you the option of requiring the auditor to reside in the city, but in the absence of that specific requirement, they wouldn't need to, and they're going to be evaluated annually. One suggestion that was made, I think by staff, is that if you were to decide to enact this, you might want to make the required qualifications of the auditor either a CPA or, and I apologize, I don't have the exact language, but apparently there's some certification for people who do
Correct.
like more investigative audits that aren't financial audits, they're management audits. My first legal job was with the Government Accountability Office. We had 5,000 employees who did audits, many of whom had degrees other than accounting. So it would give you the option of choosing one or the other.
I would like
I don't have that
someone more
certification.
in government. And it really doesn't bother me if they're outside of Daytona. I mean,
I always prefer the.
I prefer, but
Live in the city. That's my preference, but sometimes they haven't been here.
And you can require that by contract. I think both of our contracts do require that, so you could do that contractually as well.
I guess.
Yeah, we did something at one point when you made, what, over $100,000 you had to live in the city?
They expected you.
No, I actually agree with that. We do really
Make
need
them
to
live
have
by
someone.
that.
Would this eliminate those auditors that come in annually that we have to sit down with? It wouldn't eliminate that?
No, the
No,
state
no,
statute
no, that's-
requires an outside auditor.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we'd have someone to go to.
Now I want you all to understand, this is an expensive undertaking. I'm not opposed to it. I was one of the people who pushed for it originally with Commissioner Woods. So, but I do know it's gonna cost a serious amount of money, because you're hiring the person, they gotta have a staff, they gotta have a budget. It's not gonna be less than probably $400,000, $500,000. But that doesn't make it mean that it's not worth it, because I will tell you, I've always told you all that I wouldn't be on the First Step Shelter Board without legal representation. And so some people say to me, other mayors, that you shouldn't operate a city council manager form of government without your own auditor. So that's what some of my colleagues, and it is considered best practice by the U.S. Conference of Mayors. So it is something that is considered a best practice.
So
But I don't,
what would we be doing, put an RFP out, and we do an interview just like we do the city manager and you?
Yeah, that would be
To hire
presumably what
and
you
Be
do,
able
sure.
to ask questions and,
yeah,
Okay.
and interview them, and we would be the ones.
okay.
So is there anyone who's opposed to having this? So I take it that you all are, so what we will do is not put this on the charter. I don't think that's required. We already have the authority. If you have a commission that comes along and they don't want them, then they don't need them.
They can
I
eliminate.
don't think it needs to go to the charter.
What? We can't put it on the charter,
There's
say,
no
with
need,
the
because we
word
already have the
shall?
authority to do it.
Oh,
We already have the authority. We
Okay.
just, okay. All right, is there any others? That's it, isn't it?
What's this last one? Article 12.
so I just want to back up. So we are going to do this, so when are we going to start the process? Because I know we say things and then
I think we're gonna budget it. This is gonna be done.
for the new budget.
This is gonna be budgeted, and then we'll move into it in this year. Which means that we need to go over these taxes. That's what it means. Okay,
That money.
I can't stand that. All right,
Ki-
all right, Article 12. Yes.
Get through the Article 12.
Yeah, okay. Add language to the effect of the city desires to preserve our environmental resources for the quality of life and economic prosperity of its citizenry. In support of this, the commission shall by ordinance establish an environmental advisory board and shall provide standards and procedures for such board. The purpose of the board is to review environmental regulations, standards, and best practices and make advisory recommendations to the commission. Qualifications of the board shall be established by ordinance. I don't know what you all feel about this one, but I believe that we live in the modern world, and it's not responsible to not consider the impact that human beings are having on the environment. And the best way for a city to express that as some form of reality, whether it is, whether we agree with certain aspects of it or not, doesn't matter. This is something that is certainly worthy of worthy human endeavor for research, meaning we should be assigning dollars at the highest levels of the federal government to research this issue, but it's also something that as a city that we should have some interest in, and we should allow our citizens to tell us what they think about, the environment and what we're doing and how what we're doing is impacting the environment. So I'm in favor of it. I know that's a long, verbose way of saying I favor this. So, what do you all say?
I'm fine with it.
Okay. There again, it will cost staff, and some things cost money. Anybody against it?
I'm not
Nobody?
against it, but we've got boards now that aren't filled and citizens can't.
Well, it doesn't have to be chartered, it just has to be policy. It's not something that requires that. Yeah, we do have boards, but that might mean some of those boards might not need to be in place. But it doesn't mean we shouldn't, raise the question, but I understand your point.
And before you
Gotta find a way to get them.
leave this
Mm-hmm.
agenda item, I just want for the record, I'm actually for putting it on the charter, shall hire auditor, so I'm just putting that out there. Because I know you can change it every 10 years anyway, but I just wanted to put it out there.
So.
I know we can
why-
go, I know we can go ahead and do it, how it's worded now, but actually the voters did, you said, vote on this. And I just think it's a good thing and good city government to have someone actually working for us. Because there's a lot to understand in that.
And I think we've already agreed that we will do that.
I understand.
Okay.
We already said it, but I do like the word shall,
Okay, I
for
understand.
the record.
All right, okay. Now, are we on this one? We didn't answer this one, did we? Nobody's against this one? Okay, so this one, I think is just policy.
The environmental board.
Yeah. So we'll have staff to begin executing that for the next calendar year. Yeah. Unless somebody else has something else, I don't wanna.
I just have a question. I wasn't sure when to bring this up, but in the charter, it's talking about annexation and redistricting. So with all of the new building that we have going on, how do we let somebody know if there's like 3,000 people moving in because we have like, say, 5 developments, right? The staff know to bring it to us and say, you know, in zone 1, we just had 3,000 residents come in before we wait for the 10 years, because it says that we have to do it every 10 years. How can we get in front of that?
In terms of annexation, because there's a difference in
Yeah.
a new development, because most new developments are not annexed. They're already in the city.
Both.
Okay,
So when we have like new development, I'm gonna just, for instance, Avalon, right? That property, was it annexed into Daytona?
Avalon is actually in the Daytona, but the service area, it's not. Whenever there's a new development that takes place where you've got housing, so let's say you get a new development that has 3,000 new single-family homes, that's how you
Right.
can base how many individuals are gonna be coming into that area.
So does staff know to say, okay, this is what we have, and then they bring it to us?
Well, whenever there's an approval for the development, it'll say that there are 52 multifamily units being built, or 1,000 single-family homes being built in Bayberry or Mosaic. That's how you base on the numbers. Until someone moves in and does a voter registration, we don't know the exact numbers, but based off of the population of, or a number of homes that are being built, you can kind of estimate how many new residents will take place. That's why you have the school concurrency that takes place, saying if you're gonna have two individuals in the house per unit, or 3 or 4. So it's not just a set number, it just depends on how many developments are built and the number of
So
homes coming
does
in.
someone come to us and tell us that? I mean, I know we approve projects, but until they're actually like a
That-
building
it comes-
permit is put, and-
We don't know how many people are actually going into
Going
those
in,
homes. We
right.
base it based off of how many homes.
so we're
are
just
being built.
waiting until voter registration?
Yeah, that's, and the census is done.
Commissioner Paris, if I can.
Yeah.
The charter allows the commission by 3/5 vote to redesignate zone boundaries whenever it deems proper. So you're the commission, if you didn't know whether population growth in one zone was outstripping the other zones, you could tell staff you want that information. And based on that information, you could then have a 3/5 vote that requires a redistricting.
Okay.
And I think that's what you're getting at.
Thank you.
So you have that authority under the charter if you all agree by 3/5 vote.
And plus, Avalon is Daytona. It's always been Daytona. I don't know if you know, part of Granada is Daytona, actually, too. Did you know?
Wrong development, then.
Huh?
Just wrong development.
Okay.
Because sometimes we have Volusia County that we annex. I remember we did some properties.
But you
one-
said those are
yeah.
buildings.
yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Did I miss anything? I think that's it. All right, so we have one that is going on the charter, right?
You have one where we will prepare an ordinance that contains the proposal as a ballot question. That ordinance will come back for you to review and approve, and of course, the public will have the right to speak, when that's presented for the commission, whether you want to approve that ordinance or not. If you approve it, it goes on the ballot.
Okay.
I would like to suggest that when people are running for office, that they shall live in the zone that they're running for, and be registered in that zone for a period of 6 months. Not live there for 6 months, weren't registered in that zone.
So,
I agree with that one.
yeah,
Forgot about that.
I'm sorry, just to be clear, the current requirement is you have to have lived in that zone for prior 6 months,
Right.
and you had to have been
A registered voter, but you
of
didn't
the
have to
city,
be in that
but
zone.
not that zone. And so your
Right.
change is to require that they be a registered voter.
Correct.
Of that zone
Correct.
for prior 6 months.
Yeah. Hmm. You all know the language of that one? I would call that the,
I do not.
I would call that the Ruby,
The Ruby.
what do they call it? The Ruby Amendment.
The Ruby effect.
Yeah. I'm in agreement with that one.
It currently says no person may qualify to run for an office of commissioner except for the zone in which he is a bona fide resident. Sorry. Should be gender neutral. Is a bona fide resident continuously for at least 6 months immediately prior to the first day of qualification period for office and be a qualified elector. The suggestion was that no person may qualify to run for an office of commission except for the zone in which he or she is a bona fide resident and qualified elector in the zone continuously for at least 6 months.
Listen, let me just say, that language is not going to come back to you in that exact form. Part of my job is to give you language that hopefully, and there's no easy way to make that completely clear, but I am going to make it completely clear. And ironclad and wriggle-proof.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll have to put that one on the, that's not one that we can do.
Put it on the ballot.
Right. It has to go on the ballot.
We're going to add it to the ballot ordinance.
So, based on this consensus, there will be 2 proposed charter changes coming forward
Correct.
by ordinance, which you'll approve like any other ordinance.
Correct.
And upon approval, they go on the ballot. And that has to be done by the first meeting in August, correct-ish?
Yes. Yes.
And you,
August 7th will need to be the second reading.
would you like to say which 2 are those for the record?
Right, so we're talking about the elimination of the freeholder requirement from votes on bonds, and clarifying that you need to be not only a resident, but also of the zone in which you're in for the prior 6 months, but also a qualified voter in that zone, for that
6
zone,
months prior.
for 6 months. Yeah. Actually, I think Ms. Ruby's language is sounding better and better, but we'll make sure it's clear when it comes back. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Any others that you all want to add? Okay, that's it. We have a director. Let's go with it.
Now, Mayor, you weren't taking any vote on a final action tonight?
The final action, yeah, we are
It
taking a
becomes
vote.
by ordinance, and so just in case anybody's wondering, that's why I wasn't, suggesting to you after each of these items that you allow the public to speak. That you're not obligated to have them speak under the Huckel Amendment until you have an action that you're considering in the form of an ordinance. So,
Well, what action can we take tonight? I think we should take an action that these are what we're doing. This is what we're doing.
so if you want to make what I suggested in the form of motion, and then before voting, ask for
Yeah,
for,
we'll take
uh,
public opinion
for public
tonight.
comment, you can do that.
Yeah, okay, go ahead, and, make
So-
a motion.
So the motion would be to submit 2 different questions for the ballot. The first being, should the city eliminate the freeholder requirement from Article 5, Section 23? The second being, should the city add to election pre-qualifications for commissioners that they will have been registered voters for the zone in which they reside for the prior 6 months?
Okay,
So moved.
Second.
we take a motion, Commissioner Reed, and a second, Commissioner Parrish.
So now you take public comments since you have a
All right,
motion on the floor.
we got a motion.
And
on
I
the
do have a public comment, a speaker. It's Ms. Ann Ruby. And anybody else that wants to speak on this item, they can come up and fill out a form. And
Thank you for agreeing to put that consideration on the ballot. I think it's important. I also would urge you to possibly reconsider putting general public comment in the meeting by charter. Because I don't know if you remember how awful it was when it was outside the meeting. Commissioner Strickland, that's one of the things you did that got you very involved, was sitting there videotaping the public comments, because it was the only way that people could know what general public comments were. And at first it was like, we won't show the image, we'll just record the voices. It switched all around until Mayor Henry, you finally brought it up for a vote to get them put back in the meeting. But it was capricious and arbitrary. And it really, I think, general public comment belongs in the meeting. And I know it can get annoying, and it doesn't have to be at the beginning, it doesn't have to be at the end. That part can be however you guys want it. But I think there should be a time when the public can address you generally. That's cool. So I just would like you to please reconsider that. I mean, we worked very hard on all these resolutions as a charter review. I guess I can't really say that because I shouldn't be speaking as a charter review person, but I think it's codifying the public's right to be heard on general public comment is important. So I would urge you to reconsider that.
And then another speaker is Mr. Frederick Brown.
Thank you, Frederick Brown, 1508 Crescent Ridge, Daytona Beach. Mr. Mayor, I thank you for allowing me to be on the Review Commission. I will say all of the members spent a great deal of time, thought, and consideration of a public opinion of the citizens of Daytona Beach. I felt our presentation at the last meeting was very good. It's a shame you have such a disconnect in the 2 weeks in between, where we're thinking about whole totally different items, that the presentation is now lost in a distant memory. Such words as shall versus may are very important. When it comes to the order, yes, you may point one. We felt that it should be changed to shall, and that was why we put that in there. That was an overwhelming consensus by the members of the committee and by the public. And I will concur with what Ms. Ruby said about the minutes of the meeting. There was a time, and it's one of the reasons I got heavily involved in the city, when public comments were excluded from the meeting. Now, yes, you have the right to give it. Yes, you usually do it, but it has never been put in the charter. That's why, and that was overwhelmingly supported by the public, I might add, as well as the members of the committee. So those are the reasons why we put those things in. It was a great deal of thought. And the other item I want to comment on is on elections. It is always best to get what the citizens want for the candidates in the office. We all know that primary elections are very poorly attended by a very small percentage of the citizens. If you have 3 or more candidates and you have 2 candidates separated by 1 vote, and that 1 vote happens to be over the 50%, the rest of the opinions of the city of Daytona Beach are completely forgotten. Our feeling was that we would like to see the best 2 candidates come forward out of that. And if you are indeed the best candidate that the citizens of the city want, you should have no fear of winning in the general election when there is a much higher percentage. And that's the reason why we spent a great deal of time discussing that. And again, it was an overwhelmingly widely approved by both the citizens and the members of the review board. So I just want to restate that, and like I say, I'm in full support of what Ms. Ruby said and her comments on there. We took due diligence when we did this. We spent a lot of time on these, considerably more time than you've spent here. We gave it a great deal of thought. We had a great deal of support, both from the attorney and also the city clerk, as well as Mr. Driscoll. So thank you for your consideration.
Thank you as well.
And I don't have any other speakers on this item.
All right, we have a motion, we have a second, we have no other conversation. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0.
What were we voting on, just those two items?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
Yes.
okay. All right, we'll move on to commission comments, right?
Yes, and it starts with Commissioner Henry.
Commissioner Henry?
No comments tonight. Have a good Fourth.
She's known for that.
Well, I just want to share that the part 1 of 3 events for the Daytona Highlands Centennial celebration did take place on Monday morning at 9 a.m. Thank you, Commissioner Strickland, for joining us. Mr. Mayor, I know you sent word that you could not. We did get that. And thank you for your post regarding it. Mr. Manager came, rolled into town from his conference and just happened to join us. But they were very appreciative. The turnout was great. We probably had about 30 or 40 people.
That's great.
From the community that came out. And so as you drive down International Speedway heading west, on the arch, you will see a banner indicating that it's 100 years of the Highlands, Daytona Beach Highlands residency. And we also put a permanent marker for the residents as they come and go from that white street onto Tarragona, that they'll always see that in what it was 1924 is when that residency was established, and the city is celebrating their 100 years. The next event, I wish you all would mark your calendars accordingly, both my commission colleagues as well as citizens. It will be on August 20th. It will be at the Museum of Arts and Sciences. If you've ever wondered, particularly being a native, if you've ever wondered why that arch is on International Speedway, we're going to share that story with you and the history behind that residency. And there's going to be a static display of artifacts that some of those residents have found in their homes, as well as a reception of some heavy hors d'oeuvres, and then a panel discussion to share with you what some of the residencies have experienced. One example I'll give you is Norman Rockwell used to come there and visit and stay with one of the local artists, and they actually have some of his paintings and cards that they're going to put on display that were left in their care. So please, on August 20th at the Museum of Arts and Sciences from 6 to 8, just a 2-hour program on a Tuesday night. The first hour will be the static display and the reception, and the last hour will be the panel discussion. Don't want to keep you too long, but I think it's important that we know our history. And staff is very excited about this. Our Public Information Officer, Student Serbone, had, in her earlier career, had done a video regarding this location. So we're going to share that video with you, as well as we're going to showcase the 5 homes that were original homes back in the 1920s that were built. So looking forward to continuing to celebrate that.
Great.
Okay?
Great.
That concludes my comments. Oh, and I'm glad to be back from Hawaii.
Oh, all right. That sounds good, too. Congratulations on the Highlands. Great, great community. Commissioner Parrish?
I didn't even see it. Okay, it was first time for everything. I just wanted to see if we could get that update on 777 Main Street.
Yeah. Commissioner Parrish had called earlier. In the next couple of weeks, City Attorney Gross, myself, Jeff Brown, as well as Attorney Ferguson representing Savage Craft will be meeting to review the back and forth reference to some of the terms of the contract. So we'll be bringing something back to you all, probably the next meeting, but the following meeting if we're able to come to terms on the term sheet that is being discussed with Mr. Ferguson and the owners of Savage Craft.
And the other thing was from the workshop from P&L, I probably should ask Glenn, but I forgot. We haven't collected any permitting fees, correct? Or does that have to come before us to say?
Yeah, we're still collecting permitting fees. We will be making a recommendation to waive permit fees to you all soon. But we're collecting. We have to. There's an orders. We can't just not waive.
Okay, because you guys said by the next meeting we were going to have something. So
I don't recall saying that we will have a.
I watched the video over. So can we have it at the next meeting?
It really depends. We'll have a recommendation for you all. You all can make a decision. Technically, you can make a decision to waive all fees. But we'll bring a proposal back to you all on what fees should be waived relative to affordable housing or just commercial and residential for the entire city.
So can we have it by the next meeting? Okay.
Do you think we could? Yeah.
And the other thing was the revised bike week rules, regulations. I know you guys were working on that, so I just want to know if you had an
They're
update.
still under review.
Still in review. Okay. That's all. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Strick?
I only have two things. I have a resident that has been after me lately to find out why we don't have special rates for residents at our golf course, the public golf course. And I don't look like I'm going to get an answer tonight, but
I don't play golf.
can we look into that? I don't play golf either, so I had to be beaten the head to bring that up. The other thing, the new rules for homeless that we're going to have to deal with, I would like for us to go ahead and explore that from a legal standpoint, if we could, Mr. Gross, and for us to go ahead and start making a plan for that, what we're going to have to do, and not wait until the last minute and have a fiasco on our hands. But I feel like that we need to plan on that, because it's going to create some real issues in this town and other towns too as well in the state. So if we could go ahead and look at that in advance, I'd appreciate it. Happy 4th of July, everybody.
How much money you got in?
Okay. I just had a few things. First, I want to thank the charter review team. They did spend a lot of their time, own time, personal time, and believe me, doing this, I know. So I do thank them for really looking into that. Another thing I want to thank, well, my residents want me to thank Daytona Beach PD and Chief Jakari Young. I was getting so many complaints over in the Pelican Bay area and Georgetown, and it was taken care of immediately. I did get a call from Steve from Margaritaville, the general manager, and he wanted me to thank Andy Holmes, Shannon, and someone named Jim. It wasn't Jim Morris, but they saved their 4th of July at Margaritaville. He said he made one call, and he said it was taken care of within 90 minutes, and he was thrilled with our staff. Okay, the next thing I have is, I'm not trying to go after Mr. Fiacher, but I do have a problem. Because right now, Margaritaville and HOA is in the transition period where they're trying to transition from Minto to HOA. And we have some issues going on over there, and they've been ongoing issues. One is who's going to control the parking. The other one is reclaimed water. And this has been going on with actually Minto and the city staff. So it's not nothing that we are really know about, a lot of it. I mean, I try to keep up with it. And Mayor was actually speaking to the residents this past Monday, and we usually have about 150 to 250 residents. Well, this is an important time for Margaritaville with their transition, you know, and I actually asked one of the staff members if there was if he could come out and speak if they had questions, because I believe the residents have every right to ask questions about the reuse water and everything, because they're going to be taking over all the cost. And that staff member said, let me look at my calendar. Yeah, I'm free. Well, of course, as a protocol, because staff doesn't work for us, staff asked the city manager, and which I have the email, he said, no, we've been out there before. But they've never been out there while they're doing the transition right now and talked about reuse water and parking. I have done a lot of talking about what I do know. And he said, we've been out there quite a few times. Well, I'm not sure the manager is not aware, I do all the guest speakers for the men's group. So I do have the log, and I could go ahead and tell you the log all the way back from September 13, 2021, when Chisholm had the IT, Andrew, which I'm not even sure who he is, when mayor came out. And yes, the manager was out there on March 4th, 2024, and that was, he brought Andy and Jim, but that was really a preview, the state of the city they gave and how government works. And I know August 1st, 2022, Chad Smith and Jim Morris was out there. January 8th, 2024, Jeff Brown, economic, but that was at the manager's request. He asked if I could get him out there to speak. And then October 2nd, 2023, Chad Smith talked out there and Jim Morris, and it was mainly about Peabody and maybe some other projects going on Timber Creek and stuff. I do know Andy, which he wasn't on the schedule as a guest speaker. He was out there probably, I don't know, about 3 months ago, and that was because of the reuse water, and there was some letters that went out, and Andy and the manager gave me the letters, and so he came out just in case, because they were saying false things. Mento was, so he came out just in case there was some questions, which there wasn't, so he never had to speak. So I just feel like if the city manager is actually working for us, I feel like if I request something and someone is free, I believe we should be able to communicate with our residents and have some, and I even said, if you don't want him coming out, will you come out? No, there's nothing to discuss. Well, there is something to discuss. That is very important to those residents. They're transitioning right now. And I know you were out there, you talked, they have good questions. It's a very, very great group. And I just don't see why, because I know there's some other groups, which I'm not going to mention, but I see city staff out there every single time, every single meeting. So if I'm requesting someone to come out and talk about something that none of us is up here really discussing, plus I know you know what's going on. Right. But at the same time, there's probably stuff that we don't know because we're not in those meetings with Mento and the attorneys too. So I'm just saying, I think in the future, if I'm requesting something and someone is free, I don't see what there is a big problem coming out to address residents on something that's not coming before us. So that's pretty much all I have to say, and I want to say happy 4th. Actually, 38 years ago, I was in the hospital giving birth right now. So happy birthday to my son. Oh, and yes, we had a Freedom Festival, and actually it was very nice. The mayor was there, Monica was there, Commissioner Henry was there. Pretty good turnout. I hope it gets better, and I want to thank all the sponsors. We had a lot of sponsors for that event. And Manatee Island, man, is amazing. Yes. I just can't believe it. And so many residents were saying, I didn't even know we can, go on. I'm like, yes, it's amazing. Actually, I think I'm going to walk around there with my dog and stuff. It's beautiful out there. We need to actually partner with Espelon and do some more things out there because it's amazing. We were actually discussing the Halloween event maybe out there. I think that would be nice, some haunted house.
We have a hard time with parking and getting the people across because of the distance. It's the only problem.
You think so?
Yeah, you had to move people even on that event.
Yeah, we did by the
size of
go-karts.
that is so big, and kids, but I'm not saying that it would be a great place.
Right.
It would be.
I don't know. They just brought it to my attention, the guy that runs Espelon.
Yeah.
Because someone was saying we could do some haunted houses out there, and I don't know. We'll see. We'll to talk about it with staff and see
It's
what they
amazing.
say.
Yeah.
And that was it.
All right,
you.
great. I concur.
Mayor, can
Well, I know you're not spending more time tonight. Go ahead.
don't blame me. So on the corner of Bill France and Clyde Morris is a large warehouse, and they're having what I think are rave parties every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So I want to know what the ordinances are for rave parties. I know the police have been out, they've shut them down, but they're still going. Yes.
Okay. What is a rape party?
Y'all not, come on now. You're old. The rave party is when all the young teenagers, well, this particular one is all the students from Embry-Riddle, and they go into the warehouse and they play a whole bunch of music and they drink and they have a good time. So it's basically an unauthorized party.
That's just a party.
Unsanctioned.
Unsanctioned party. So I want to know if there are any ordinances concerning rave parties, what can be done for these rave parties, because police have been out, they've shut them down, and they continue to go on. Can the business be fined? What can happen for these unauthorized rave parties?
We'll take a look at that.
And I have video as well.
I know we don't currently have a term called rave parties. The question is what activities are happening and how do we regulate them? So we'll take a look at it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that it?
That's it.
That's it? Oh, I forgot, okay.
And don't you take too long.
We had a great event here in Daytona Beach. Flags for Heroes was a great event where the local Rotary hosts flags that are on the Esplanade, and you take a hero that you support, and they post a flag, put the hero's name and why the person thinks that they're a hero. And I don't know if I've seen the Esplanade look any better than with all those flags just stuck in the ground. Just gives you goosebumps. Then knowing that we have the monuments there, highlighting our our heritage as a nation, just looks amazing. Commissioner Cantu and is right. Manatee Island is a magnificent place. I mean, that place is our centering point, and it just gives us so many reasons to be excited. There's almost nothing that you can't do down there and have a good time. I mean, you can have a wedding, you can protest, you can celebrate our heritage, just anything that brings people together. You can have a cookout, whatever it is that you want to do. I believe that it's somewhere down there, and so it was really exciting. And Commissioner Cantu, I did have a question. Did you get much pushback because there wasn't a parade?
Yes, we did, a little.
A little.
And which they don't understand, these veterans most of them are in their 70s to 90 years old. Those uniforms are so hot. And actually, I don't know if you remember, I think it was the last year or the year before, during the clock tower, was Sam and the Marine almost passed out and everybody, yeah. So, I mean, and the veterans are the ones that started this parade, and they wanted to do something different for the people, and everybody can enjoy. And I actually think it was great. We still had the veterans ceremony, like we did at the clock tower, but at Manatee Island. So I just don't understand. There was only a couple people, and I know the commander of the Purple Heart addressed that person. But, I mean, and they said we were taking something away. Well, we weren't taking something away because that was the Veterans Parade. It wasn't our parade in the first place. They are the ones that got all the veterans together to do it. And this actually, I think, is so much nicer. Everyone can enjoy going down there. I mean, SR Pratt was giving away free samples. I mean, big samples. I don't even say the beverages. Humana gave free food out, barbecue. The city was selling dollar everything, hot dogs, candy, water. I mean, there was just so many sponsors for this event. And if this is what our veterans want to do, I say we do it.
Oh, I agree.
And we do have a lot of stuff going on in 4th of July as well. I mean, you got the baseball field with fireworks, you got the band shell. I mean, so it's not like we're not doing anything for 4th of July.
I just wondered if you got much feedback, because I had a couple keyboard warriors just wear me out. You know,
It was
they just went after me, and I didn't. You know, I really didn't care, because I tried to explain it, but they didn't want to hear it.
I had the
so
same
I thought
too.
it was a great event, and let's just have it grow. Now, what we do have to work on is some way to have signage so people know that it's going on. But I think that because I think it was so great that you needed it to be even greater, so people know. But I think that eventually, as you have some form of signage and it grows and people know that it's going on down there, it will be huge.
And just like the Halloween festival that we have, it started out and it just keeps getting bigger. Well, actually this, I think the staff did an amazing job, but all this was planned probably just a little bit over a month. I mean, even SR Prop bought the banners. I mean, I think that was up like in a week. Thank you to WNDB. We had every single disc jockey and radio station advertising, I mean, the last week. So I think with all these sponsors, they did an amazing job for only planning this in a month, and our staff.
All right, so that was great. We had the Vince Carter Gala, which was a super evening. Commissioner Strickland and Paris both were there, and just a lot of good things going on. I did have one thing that I wanted to discuss tonight, and that was the Juneteenth Festival. The Juneteenth Festival it was great this year. It's been great every year. It's never had a year when it hadn't been great. It is a Daytona Beach City event. Historically, that's where it got started. And the city manager has given money, I think this year and out of his budget, but we used to, years ago, support it to the tune of $30,000. But I don't believe that, and it started out, Commissioner Henry, as a Zone 5 replacement, because what people don't realize is that you will remember this, the city used to have the Halloween festival at Derbyshire. And Derbyshire Halloween festival was humongous. It was humongous. And but we had a leisure service director who abruptly got rid of that, and Commissioner Scarlett Golden, who was commissioner at the time, went ballistic. If you knew Commissioner Golden, you just didn't play with her. But she went ballistic because it was moved out of her zone. So and they convinced her to support Juneteenth, even though it wasn't in her zone, but that it would unify the community. It would be a great event. So that's pretty much how it sort of got a great sponsorship from the city. But what I want is, since we're on the budget, is that the city manager, this year that Juneteenth should not have to come and ask the city manager if that's something that we're going to support. Commissioner Strickland, the last several years, has given $5,000 for the traveling museum. I would like for us to approve that it just be $25,000 and you not do that anymore, because you can't do that in the perpetuity. And it'd be something, because eventually, if that's going to survive, they wonder if they're going to want us to take it back over. I said, I don't think we should, I think they should keep it, and even when Linda McGee becomes too old to do it, somebody from the community has to step up and lead it. She's done an amazing job of leading it, but I don't think she should have to walk around and, she has to raise other money because it costs probably at least double what that amount is, but I don't think she should, I think it should be something that we've supported and that we say that we support, and it should not be left on the manager's desk. Are you all, okay, all right. Okay, all right, okay. And that is it for my comments for tonight. I want to say this is the 4th of July, and I'm going to close with this thought. My students, when I was a teacher, my nickname was Jefferson. My students called me Jefferson, and I don't know if anyone might know why. They called me Jefferson because I made them read so much Thomas Jefferson. There was just so many documents that I thought were indispensable for a honors level student that you had to have it. You needed to consume it to really understand the founding principles of our democracy and our country and what a great space that we live in. And they went well beyond the Declaration of Independence. And so I say that because this is a great time to be an American, to celebrate the beauty of our nation, to celebrate the beauty of our diversity and how we are yet evolving. Because that's the beauty of America to me. You know, a lot of people talk about what the founding fathers wanted. Well, I'm one of those people that says I like a lot of what they wanted, but some of what they wanted I didn't like. And the same is true, you know, I tell people my mother didn't always agree with me, doesn't always agree with me as mayor. So we're evolving, becoming a greater and better country. So a great time, let's celebrate, let's enjoy tomorrow, and let's read some Jefferson. Good night. Mr. Manager, did you have anything?
No.
You sure?
I'm positive.
No, Mr. Mayor.
No. Okay, and at this time, we will hear from the greatest citizens in the United States.
Okay. Our first speaker is Ray, and on deck is Chad Walton. Is Mr. Ray here? Oh. Oh, he can pull up. Can he pull up to the? Oh, I don't know.
Okay, all right.
I'm gonna just push that down. Okay, there you go. Got it?
You want to help him?
You're good. You working? Okay, hey, I'm back. It's going to be a real busy 4th of July schedule. Yes, each side will be busy. And the parking lots will be full by 10 o'clock. I used to work there, and the visitors would always ask me, where can I park? Where can I park? And I would look down there on the beach and I would see all that parking that used to be and should be again. Think about all the money the city or the county could use and ease up all that congestion. It's amazing that no one here is smart enough to work with the city or the county and open up, like, let's say, Harvey Approach, and ease up all that congestion. It's unbelievable. And if they do go to the boardwalk, there is nothing to do, nothing at all, nothing but pizza and a beer, maybe a T-shirt. How about let's and I'd like to know who the genius is that wants to give out tickets for someone who drops a French fry and a pigeon happens to get it. Really? You're going to hire pigeon police? Instead of scaring the tourists off and not giving them anything to do on the boardwalk area, how about building something, anything? Like I said, I suggested a skateboard park surf shop combination. Build it, they will come.
And let's see, they will come from everywhere. Everywhere, if you build the right one, the greatest surf shop and skateboard park in America. They will come. I've been here for 30, 40 years now, and I love this town. It used to be called the world's most famous beach. You know what it's called now? It's called Daytona. It's called Daytona, and it's really sad, isn't it? And I've talked to the DOT, and they give me a runaround. I shouldn't have to advocate to protect these pedestrians on US 1. It's your job to help protect these and get the sidewalks built on US 1. It really is. I shouldn't have to do your job and advocate for sidewalks. Pathetic. Why don't you open up the parking and driving on the beach to ease up the congestion? 4th of July, hello?
Our next speaker is Chad Walton, and on deck is Rhoda Moten.
Well, hey, excuse me. When you give up that mic, I want you to give up your talking. And be polite. Yeah, I knew you were the guy. I knew it. I knew you were the guy. I knew it. And a lot of people on the social media who have a tendency to attack us, and then they say that you are favoring one part of the community over another.
But he doesn't even understand, we can't control the beach.
I know. Yeah, but some of them are not, some of them don't have good hearts about our objective to be an egalitarian and fair-minded society. Anyway, move on.
Okay. Our next speaker is Chad Walton. Is there a
that guy?
Chad Walton? Just Ray.
Oh, he's gone.
Okay.
Sam,
Our next
let's-
speaker is Rhoda Moten, and on deck is Deborah Wilson.
Good evening. My name is Rhoda Moten. I represent Transformation's Main Focus, a dedicated nonprofit 501c3 organization that provides cranioprosthesis to individuals experiencing medical hair loss. I'm nervous. Our service is critical in helping these individuals regain confidence and improve their quality of life. The mission of Transformation's Main Focus is to restore confidence, dignity, hope to individuals experiencing medical hair loss by providing high-quality wigs and personalized support. We strive to empower every patient on their journey towards self-acceptance, ensuring them that they feel beautiful, confident, and supported during a challenging time of their life. The vision of Transformation's Main Focus is to create a world where no individual facing medical hair loss feels alone or insecure. We envision a future where our nonprofit stands as a beacon of compassion towards not just wigs, but also comprehensive support and resources to empower individuals to embrace their unique beauty and thrive with confidence through every step of their journey. Hair can play a significant role in building and enhancing confidence for several reasons: appearance and self-image, self-acceptance and norms, personal expression, psychological well-being, quality of life, empowering and control. We are seeking $30,000 in funding to expand our outreach efforts and serve more residents who require our support. This funding will directly contribute to covering the cost of prostheses, fittings, and outgoing services and support. Supporting our nonprofit aligns with the city's commitment to promoting health and well-being amongst its residents. By partnering with us, we can make a significant difference together in the lives of those facing medical hair loss. Thank you for considering our request, and we'll be happy to give you more information if needed.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Our next speaker is Deborah Wilson, and on deck is Gary Golkus.
Okay. Hey, how you doing, lady?
Hello, Deborah Wilson, live at 524 South Beach Street. I've been staying there for 7 years, going on about 8 years. So I've been there through all of the construction with Holly Knight Enterprises. It got so bad, I went to Sally. We went to Mr. Woodyard. Mr. Woodyard then called a meeting with Holly Knight, Allied Orion, who is her management company, and the investors, to inform them of a lot of the things that are going on. So within the last 2 months now, we started in May. So one of them is they put us on a automatic lockdown, 24 hours. We couldn't get our food deliveries. We could not get our Amazon packages. Residents that were having medical services done, these people could not get downstairs to open a door to let people in for them, okay? They have put windows in the units. Not a window in our apartments will open. None. It's like we're souped in now. They put doors up in between the elevators where the garbage chute is at. The garbage chute will make you vomit if you go to put your garbage in it. The windows that were adjacent to the garbage chutes, they don't open anymore for fresh air to blow in. It has been horrific torture the last 2 years of this construction. There are still termites, there are spiders everywhere, rats, and roaches. I moved in the last stack to a temporary unit, and I was in the temporary unit for 7 months, and it was a redone unit. Roaches, rats, termites, and gnats infested. I got pictures of everything. I got bit on the back by a spider, infected, had to get it lanced. We still have spiders hatching all over outside the building. Allied Orion, Susan Jarvis was the lady that was at the meeting. Allied Orion is here tonight too. But it's because they just have answered a lot of the things that we put in request in May to Mr. Woodard. And I feel really bad.
Okay, your time is up.
Yes.
You're a speaker, man.
I'm Commissioner Sally Cass. I'm a resident commissioner for the Housing Authority. And it's what's going on makes the residents feel as though they're in prison. And the office wouldn't take the packages. Yeah, you. Sorry. And it's so, and I live in the Windsor. So as a commissioner, they come to me about things to get the changes done. It was supposed to be a much better senior place, and now it's 62 and above, which is seniors. But they kind of have done a lot of work on the sly, I guess. Instead of us being a 90 to 100% renovation, it's 40%. I don't know if code enforcement has ever come in.
The renovation is done?
No, it'll be done very soon at the Windsor. It's not done at the Millage because the Millage was full of mold, and they've had to work around that. And the thing is too, like coming into the Windsor, they found things they never anticipated. So it's cost more money, and the hurricane and the COVID, but the management company thinks they're doing things right, but they're making the people in the building move out. They're trying to find other senior places because they feel like they're not important, and there's no compassion shown for the residents when they go. into the office. In fact, they try to stay away from the office. So they come to me, and that doesn't make the management very happy, but I live there, I see what's going on, and I don't understand if code enforcement has come in there at all, because there's a lot of things that couldn't pass. So that's all I have to say. Thank you, Paula Reed, because my daughter used to live on Fulton Street, and you got the city to clean up the city lots. Made a big difference. And she doesn't live there anymore, but the residents there on Fulton, they're a great bunch of people. They take care of each other. And my grandson, biracial, and there was some young people that threatened him. And the neighbor, who's kind of the drug dealer in the neighborhood, he warned them to leave him alone.
Okay. The time is up, Ms. Jazz, but thank you.
Okay.
So,
Mr.
the things that they're complaining about, this is a housing authority property.
No, not anymore.
Not
Private.
anymore.
Nobody sold it.
No,
So
they
the housing
sold the
authority doesn't own it anymore? But they manage it, but don't they still own it?
No,
You guys don't manage it anymore, or own it at
no.
all? Okay, I
It's a
remember
private
that.
management and it's a private owner.
Okay, do we have what authority do we have to investigate?
As
the
far,
allegations?
as far as I know, Mayor, we have authority to do code enforcement there like anywhere else. But there was some sort of contract by which the housing authority handed off ownership and management to this company. I think the two questions are, does the housing authority itself retain any authority,
Yes, we do.
you know, within its jurisdiction to do something? But also, that facility is still a HUD-regulated authority. It'd be worth it, and I'll be glad to assist staff in reaching out to the housing authority for us to have a discussion, you know, with them. And then, you know, our office can independently verify that we retain authority to do code enforcement. I don't know why we wouldn't have that authority.
I know.
Okay, all right.
We still, the housing authority, I'm sorry.
You have to tell us later.
Okay.
Okay. All right, you just tell me.
Owns the building, yeah.
Mr. Did you
Yes,
still?
can I?
Yeah, we'll get the microphone.
Yes, okay. Give me a mic.
I saw him. He knew there was something in his place.
If not, I can speak loud and clear. I've been in the Windsor for quite a few years. Housing Authority, they sold it to this private entity which is not New York, it's out of state. I think they go out of their way to make life worse for a man like myself. Not only locking down the building, but having an attitude if you want to put something up in the office. It's like the office is answering to the new owners and not caring about people like myself that have problems getting around. And there's much worse people in the building that are mentally and physically have so many problems, and they just walk around and nobody cares. They just don't care. The apartment itself is nice, but the attitude is horrible. And that's it. They don't treat seniors it's supposed to be a wellness building. It's the opposite.
Handicap.
Not wellness at all.
Handicap.
That's it.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Our next speaker is Cynthia Flower, and on deck is Frederick Brown.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Cynthia Fowler. I'm actually from Houston, Texas. I was told to come here and speak regarding the Windsor building that is owned by Knight Development and managed by Allied Orion. We did have a meeting yesterday with 16 residents that attended the meeting, with Ms. Deborah being one of those residents. The other residents did not attend who are in attendance today. We did discuss the security of the building, basically, and it was decided that instead of locking the building down, well, not even locking it down, making it unaccessible for people that did not live there, we would open the doors between the office hours of 8:30 and 5:30, and close the doors at 5:30, which will make it secure for the residents so that the homeless people will not evade the building. We did have that issue. There are also some issues that we did address yesterday, which were trash cans. We addressed also the elevators, and just several other little issues. I wanted to say that WMAT at the River is independent living. There is not association of any senior assistance. It is a tax credit property. We do provide supportive services, and which that means is that we are required, because it is a tax credit property, that we must provide services that will assist or enhance the quality of living, but not actually provide any assistance in the living of the unit yourself. We do have weekly meetings with the owner. They are aware of all of the windows. They're in the process of repairing those windows that actually are leaking because they were sealed. And that is something that was developed during the construction of the building. It is only a 40% rehab, and that is also something that was due to budgeting constraints. As management, we can only manage the lease. We can enforce the lease. If you've ever been a landlord, sometimes your residents are not happy with everything that you do, but we are required to enforce the lease because we are a third-party management company, and we do not own the building. So thank you for taking my time, and thank you for giving me the time, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I have a question. Can you do anything about the rats and the roaches and the spiders?
Yes, we can, and we have. We ask the residents to come to the office, call the office, and provide us with a work order. We actually have weekly pest control service. If you call the office, you are provided with the day of the service, and we place your name on the list for the services. So if you do not call the office, we don't know that you need services.
Are you here locally?
I am not.
You're here from Texas?
I'm here from Texas.
Okay, I thought you were just letting us know you're from Texas. So
No.
You're not the person on site that's seeing
The
what
manager
they're
that's on
doing.
site is Rachel Leedy, and she is there pretty much every day.
Why didn't she come here tonight?
She's here tonight
Oh, that's the lady that,
Yes.
right there. Why isn't she speaking to us?
because I was directed to provide the comments.
But you don't live here and you don't know what they're experiencing on a daily basis. I
I-
understand. You were told to come. I understand.
And I follow direction very well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Our next speaker is Frederick Brown, and on deck is Amy Pyle.
Frederick Brown, 1508 Crescent Ridge, Daytona Beach. Mr. Jefferson, Mr. Mayor, and I appreciate you sharing the story also at the Veterans event. And thank you, Commissioner Cantu, for helping put that together. As a proud Vietnam veteran, I was glad to be part of it. I also do like the parade, so we can go either way. You had a point about we need to get some signage out to get the information. Daytona Beach, a city of 82,000 people, does not have an electronic sign. Holly Hill, a much smaller city, does. Daytona Beach Shores, a much smaller city, does. Port Orange also has electronic signs. I would think that some of the money we might save on not paying too much for a building would certainly buy us a really nice sign to help get the word out to the citizens. So I'm glad you brought that up. I trust the staff we'll work on that, and we'll have some resolution coming very soon. Commissioner Cantu, I thank you very much for your due diligence. You saved me a lot of time because I was doing a lot of research on that too. And it's very interesting, a building that is valued on tax rolls for $784,800 and some dollars is only paying a minimal tax here in the city. And yet they want to sell it to the city for $4.4 million. I have a problem with that. I also have a problem with some of the things that she pointed out. Code enforcement obviously isn't doing due diligence. Things like the elevator is not working. And those of us who live in the city for a while know that that building has a lot of problems. Now, the owner of that building is CEO of a corporation, is a proud resident of a very large house up in Ormond Beach. He's made a great deal of money over his lifetime, strong-arming people in the deals. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for saying you don't want to be strong-armed. Thank you. I appreciate the fact that it's an opportunity for the city, but as Commissioner Cantu pointed out, that's not the right way to do it. I think she's also right in the fact that we have a very highly paid and professional staff here. All of that information should be made available not only to you commissioners, but us citizens as well. I had to spend my time doing the same kind of research that she did to try and get some of the answers on that building. I shouldn't have to do that. That should all be in the staff report. And I look at some of the salaries that are being paid here in Daytona Beach, and I just kind of shake my head. I ran corporations for less money than the people are getting paid here. I developed products that are worldwide distribution, and I didn't get paid the same kind of salaries you're doing here. Of course, I wasn't after the money. But we have professionals here. Mr. Mayor, I know you're not one of the highly paid. You're a elected official, so you don't get the big money. But we need to have that information that Commissioner Cantu requested on all of these reports. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Amy Powell, and on deck is Steve Miller.
Hello, everybody. Amy Pyle, 136 South Grandview. Bet you can guess what I'm going to talk about. I've been told a few times that there is no parking on grass allowed anywhere in Daytona Beach, but we all know what happens, right? People like myself will get a code violation if one of my tenants will park on the grass in front of their house, but other times it's ignored, say for employee and overflow parking for a hotel, for example, or the location of a PD where improvements have not yet begun. Sometimes it's allowed by special permit during events, and sometimes it happens under the radar without a permit. The rules are not being applied fairly, and that's something that I will address when the Biketoberfest master plan comes before you in a couple weeks. I'm assuming it's going to be at the next meeting. But before you assume what I'm getting at, I'm not advocating that big fences go up around these vacant properties to stop parking, as happened with the Hennessy lot at A1A, which frankly went from a slum-like conditions to slum-like conditions with a nice fence. I'm not advocating they all be paved with asphalt or even that broken pavement be painted and striped. And I'm not even advocating that they be disallowed for parking. Standards for parking lots are hard to find in random places in the LDC. I'm getting to a point. And apparently, it's really hard to enforce them. There's none in there that I can find specific to pay parking. And the Code of Ordinances has a couple things about signs, but in the LDC, I didn't see any. Clear standards are essential to improving both our image to visitors and the value of these and surrounding properties. So I'd like the commission to consider an LDC text amendment for clear standards for vacant lots before an owner can apply to do parking. It's not that hard to do, whether it's going to be pay or otherwise, even if it's free parking. A survey of existing parking in the Main Street CRA would yield some pretty abysmal conditions presented to our visitors. But how can we improve them without clear standards? What are the standards? So I hope you would support an LDC text amendment with appearance and maintenance standards for parking properties. And have a wonderful 4th of July tomorrow. Thanks.
Mayor, may I? I was talking to the city manager about this, and I'm working on a presentation that I should have for the next meeting to show everyone about standards for parking. Just want to share that. Thank you.
How much trouble will it be for us to standardize our parking rules citywide? What do we have to do that, Mr. Manager?
Citywide, I mean, make a recommendation, if you want them all the same citywide, the commission do it.
Well, I drive around town. Some houses have cars parked all over the yard, and then other places, code comes out.
But some areas you can park in the, that's the thing he's trying to figure out. Should we just say there's no parking on
Grass.
grass? Right.
Just drive around, you'll see it.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I know people say, well, I have property rights, it's my grass, I can park on it if I want to.
It's not legal that I know of, so I would like to know where that is.
I'll get you some pictures.
Well, not pictures.
Okay.
I think it's what, two wheels on, 2 wheels off?
I don't have the code.
Yeah, and you guys are already looking at all that for me as it is, so.
Thank you. Hey, Steve Miller, 383 Walnut Street, beautiful Daytona Beach. I first want to congratulate you, Mr. Mayor, Zone for Ms. Cantu, and of course, Paula Reed for being elected to another 4-year term. I also like to thank you, Mayor, for appointing me to the Charter Review Commission. It was truly a pleasure, and I'm satisfied with what you came up with because I realized that I was appointed to represent you guys, so it was your prerogative to decide what you want to do. I have also been called out to the mailing, and it's a disgrace, this building it with you can look at the marina and they can't even let the windows down or up. It's locked, and I think that's a disgrace, and the garbage is awful. And I was there just a couple of days ago at a meeting that they actually had. Number 3, I find myself, I pray for this city, and I pray for each and every one of you guys every day, every night. And I encourage other citizens of the city to also pray for this city. And I think we are the most beautiful city on a beach, and I love the diversity of this community. Mr. Mayor, I was so offended when I saw the news, and I went back and I looked at the videos of the county council meeting when I heard an elected official says that Daytona Beach was full of prostitutes, transit, crime infested, and they never would come here unless they have a scanner and a gun. And I thank the police chief for coming to defend us, but I was offended that the individual who represents this district, District 2, didn't open their mouth. It was offensive to me, and that's why I'm running for Daytona, for County Council District 2. Number 4, the Juneteenth. Mr. Mayor, City Manager, thank you. I happen to be the ambassador to Juneteenth, and thank you for keeping us from having to beg for money to have a little bit of support for this event. I think it's an awesome event. It's a national holiday now, and thank you for your consideration. And we have a we have a neighborhood watch at Midtown on July the 8th, 2024, and like always, each and every one of you guys are invited. And again, thank you very much for the job that you have been doing. The city looked beautiful. I don't care what somebody else say, but I was offended by that. And guys, thank you for what y'all been doing, and we look great.
Our next speaker is Sylvester Peterson, and on deck is Jenny Nazak.
Okay, how we doing tonight? My name is Sylvester Peterson, address 408 Fremont Avenue, Daytona Beach. Okay, and yes, congratulations to everybody that got re-elected and everything. And also, I'd like to thank Miss Commissioner Parrish and May for helping out with the situation with the, with the little crime situation on Fremont and Seagrave. Still got issues going, still got problems, but, you know, I guess we still working on it or what have you. It's not gonna be overnight, but as long as we making some kind of effort, maybe they'll get on down the road or whatever they do, but we still have a little issues with it. And I'd like to thank Commissioner Reed for helping me out with the driveway. They did do that. They came and did that. And I don't know if she's here or not. Commissioner May, is she here tonight? She's not here. I haven't seen her. But I was gonna talk to her about an issue that I'm having with the easement behind my property. If I can say, the city was upkeeping the easement some years back, like 20, 25 years. It's been a while. But they stopped, so it grew up, I asked them about it. They told me 3 different things, and so it's confusing, and so I guess now they don't do it, or they're not doing it, or I don't know the issue with it, but they said it was the county. Called the county say, no, it's not there. Supervisor came out and showed me that it's not their area, that it belonged to the city. So I called Mr., I think his name, Glenn, no, that's county. All these names, what is his name? Anyway, I talked to a supervisor of public works. He said that he went from, when I told him that, he said that I would have to prove that the easement is mine. You know, which his people that have been out there and you can see the easement where it's coming from my property. It runs out to the city drain for the water to run. I mean, I don't understand what you mean by I would need to prove that. I mean, your people have been out and saw it. They know it's an easement there. I don't know. So she was helping me out with that, and I haven't gotten anywhere with it. And what's happening is I'm trying to get that done or get something going before the hurricane season arrives. Because what happens is the water pushes back on my property, and then it's just sitting back there. It just sits back there. So I would, I'm gonna stop right there, but she's not here tonight. Maybe I'll text her about it. But thank you all. Yeah.
Our next speaker is Jenny Nazak, and on deck is Ann Ruby.
Good evening, Jenny Nazak, 501 Harvey Avenue. It was a great weekend at Manatee Island and also at the Esplanade on Sunday. And I have an update in the incident that I have referred to as barefoot in the park. There has been a happy resolution. When I was walking through the Esplanade some months ago, I was told that I couldn't be barefoot in there, and I became like sad and outraged. Well, I found out this past Sunday by talking to Mr. Joe Yarborough that the actual reason why people are not allowed to be barefoot in the Esplanade is that the entity that runs the Esplanade is not, there's no cap on the amount of a lawsuit that they could get. And in our litigious society, a barefoot person that might step on something might sue, which like, I wouldn't, but you know, people do, I guess. It's too bad about our litigious society. But that was a happy ending about the barefoot in the park incident. Just thought you all might like to know. Right. But I'm careful now. I know where the boundaries are, and I have my little pair of shoes in my bag and stuff. Yeah, and then there's been stuff like people talking about Daytona Beach like we're so terrible. A lot of the people who talk about Daytona Beach, they don't live here. They can be happy in their own town. Be happy over there. We're happy over here. This is a great place to live. It's fine. And people talk about our terribleness is driving away tourism and like inhibiting development. Well, we're doing a really terrible job of inhibiting development and an awful job of driving away tourism. So everybody keep up the good work. Have a good evening. Happy 4th. Stay safe, everybody. Oh, more stuff. Okay. So it was so hot this weekend, right? It was broiling hot. And this weekend, the power of trees showed itself, not only on Manatee Island, but also in the Esplanade Park. I mean, there's a difference. It's obvious, but also you just have to experience it between being able to stand out in the sun and standing in the shade. It's just like, it's all the difference in the world, so yay trees. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Ann Ruby, and on deck is Ken. And I couldn't. Okay.
Ann Ruby, what?
What are you reading before you go?
Oh, I have to, Paper, Scissors, Rock and Roll, and Legendary Locals of Daytona Beach. Made me forget my thought. Ann Ruby, 137 Park Avenue, we'll start there. What Amy is asking for, just to be clear, and I think it's really needed, is one section, a text amendment to the LDC, so that in one spot, all of the parking requirements for a parking lot, not necessarily just parking your car on your grass as a resident, but a parking lot. What are the requirements for a parking lot? The fencing, the curb cuts, the whatever, cleanliness, the standards. And that's not anywhere in one spot in the LDC. So what Amy's asking for, and I think it's a brilliant thing to ask for, and I hope you'd support her in that, is that that get added to the LDC, so that if someone says, it'll help code too. When they come upon a parking lot, they won't have to flip through 20 pages of the LDC to figure out what's in violation in this parking lot. So I think that's a really needed update, especially if you're going to try and make Beachside look great. And I look forward to seeing what you bring forward, Monica. Thank you. The green fees at the golf course. It's not just any ordinary citizen who wants those fees adjusted. It's the Uber volunteer that keeps our city running, Ted Hordecki. He really wants a residential rate for the green fees, and I think that's 100% valid. So I would, instead of just generally asking, please come up with a time frame for when that can get addressed and possibly adjusted. What'll it take? Because golf season is short, and Ted likes to play, and I think it's really important when somebody who gives as much to our city as he does makes a request like that.
It's like,
So,
He does.
thank you.
it's like out of the roof what he does.
So, thank you.
Hello, sir. You are our final speaker tonight.
Okay, my name is Ken Southall, and my pet peeve is flooding again. And I was to the meeting a couple weeks ago, and the Corps of Engineers was discussing our problem. And I'm wondering, how are we getting the information out to the people? Because I noticed two citizens here, so they can get the information to them, so they'll be able to come to the meeting the 16th of this month, and discuss the problem and see what the Corps of Engineers are trying to do for us. Because he's saying that a lot of people are moving out the area, and he's trying to say, well, look, I want to find a reason for y'all to stay. And I don't know how long the meeting's going, the study they're going to have, how long it's going to take. But what can we do as a people to be able to stay there and not be part of, or not suffering from the problem of the flood itself? So how do we go about doing that? That makes sense. We've only got a few days left, because tomorrow is the 4th, and you got about another week to inform the people that this meeting, they need to attend this meeting, and do what they can to help not be part of the problem.
So your question is, how can we help promote the meeting that's coming up?
Yes.
We are, what are we doing?
Do you need additional flyers that you want to hand out as well?
I've got to do anything it takes to be part of the solution.
Yeah, but we our neighborhood groups, but yeah, I think we can get some additional flyers for you if you want to pick them up, but we're putting them out as well.
There's no problem. How many can you get me? Because I want everybody to know. If I have to knock on every door, person myself in my neighborhood, I'll do that.
We'll have them for you on Friday here at City Hall.
At City Hall, where I
Just
come
come to the,
Come to the front desk? Yeah.
they'll be there in the morning. By 10 o'clock?
Yeah,
That's,
Oh, yeah. Tomorrow.
make it
oh, tomorrow's the 4th now.
Yeah.
Friday, you see, come Friday, yeah, or noon.
Okay, Friday at noon. I'll do that.
All right.
Thank you.
All right.
Wait, before you go. I know the Espelon, I mean, Manatee Island is controlled by the Espelon, excuse me. But where the band stage is and all those seatings out there, actually Sunday I went to an event down in Town Square in Margaritaville. They have these like cells, I guess they're called. They're, I don't know, it's kind of like these covers. That would be so perfect. I took pictures. Who do I need to give that to check it out? And I guess it wasn't very expensive either. Because you know how you sit around the stage, there's no covers? Who? Yeah. Do you get, I mean, if we had some, I mean.
There you needed some kind of shade out.
Yes, and Town Square, I don't know, has these, and they said they weren't very expensive, but they're really sturdy. Actually, they didn't take them down from the last hurricane, and nothing happened. So, who do we get with?
It is, well, it's there overseeing it.
So send it to Joe, you think?
Yeah, but they gotta buy it. They're gonna say, we don't have money to buy that. Well,
I don't know, but I think, I mean, it needs something covered.
well, it would be nice, yeah.
Yeah.
They're gonna say
But it was just a thought. I'm done.
Good thought. Good night, Daytona Beach.